Good evening and welcome to the Board of Commissioners' regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, March the 12th, 2025, and it is 6 p.m. City Attorney, would you please lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Our Heavenly Father, we give thanks that you have brought us through another election here in the city of Madeira Beach. We pray that you will fill all those in leadership roles with your compassion, wisdom, and resolve to make sacrifices, the right decisions for common good, and let our leaders be guided by your Holy Spirit and not by selfish ambition, pride, or greed. Give them grace and humility, yet strength of character and commitment to promote your will. In this we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Brooks,
Here.
Vice Mayor Taglerini,
Here.
Commissioner Kerr,
Here.
Commissioner McGinn,
Here.
Commissioner Gabayi,
Present.
all are present.
Next on the agenda is induction into office, and I will hand this to the City Clerk.
We'll ask the mayor to come up first. Wait, left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. I, Anne Marie Brooks,
I, Anne Marie Brooks,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
the city charter and city codes,
the city charter and city codes,
and policies and procedures
and policies and procedures
of the city of Madeira Beach and the Board of Commissioners,
of the city of Madeira Beach and the Board of Commissioners,
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of mayor
the duties of mayor
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Commissioner Edward McGinn. This is Commissioner District 3. Repeat after me. I, Edward McGinn,
I, Edward McGeehan,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution of the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
the city charter and city codes,
the city charter and city codes,
and policies and procedures
policies and procedures
of the city of Madeira Beach and the Board of Commissioners,
in the city of Madeira Beach and the Board of Commissioners,
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
and I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will and faithfully perform
the duties of Commissioner 3,
the duties of Commissioner 3,
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. All right. Commissioner Hoos Gabayi, District 4. All right, repeat after me. I, Hoosh Gavahi,
I, Hush Babahi,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend,
that I will support,
protect,
protect,
and
and
defend
defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and the state of Florida,
the city charter and city codes,
the city charter and city codes,
and policies and procedures
policies and procedures
of the city of Madeira Beach and the Board of Commissioners,
of the Madeira Beach and the Board of Commissioners.
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
And I'm duly qualified to hold the office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the United
United-
States.
and that I will well and faithfully perform
I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of Commissioner 4,
duties of Commissioner 4,
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Say a word.
Here.
Mayor, would you like to say a word to the
I
public?
would, as a matter of fact. I actually prepared something I wanted to share with the community tonight. Good evening, everyone. It is with deep gratitude and a profound sense of responsibility that I sit before you today as your mayor. I am truly honored to serve the citizens of Madeira Beach. This moment is not just about me as your mayor, it's about all of us, together as a community committed to making our city a better place for today and for generations to come. Over the past 2 years, I have had the privilege of serving as your District 4 Commissioner and then as your mayor. In these last 6 months, we've endured more than we could have imagined, with 2 devastating hurricanes, but through it all, we have accomplished so much. We've worked together to solve problems, improve services, begin the rebuild and rebounding of our city, one that we can all be proud of. But the work is far from finished. This new term marks a new chapter, one where we will continue to rebound, face new challenges, and most importantly, put our residents first. During this term as your mayor, I am dedicated to making sure the following 5 pillars are achieved. 1, transparency. I believe in keeping the lines of communication open so everyone knows what's happening in our city, what's being worked on, and how decisions are being made. It's important that every resident feels heard and informed because, at the end of the day, this is your city. Your voice matters, and I will always work to ensure you have a seat at the table. 2, positive professionalism. While challenges are inevitable, it's our professionalism and positive attitude that will carry us through, helping us move forward even in tough times. I ask all of us, whether you're a resident, a city employee, a commissioner, a local business owner, a volunteer, or a neighbor, to approach our work with the spirit of cooperation and a dedication to making a positive impact. We are a community of problem solvers. Together, we have the ideas and creativity and the drive to overcome any challenge that comes our way. Whether it's improving infrastructure, supporting local businesses, or enhancing services, we will do it as a team, working collaboratively to find solutions that benefit everyone. 3, community engagement. Community engagement is at the heart of everything we do. We are not just a city. We are a collective of individuals who care for one another. I am committed to making sure our community remains a welcoming place for all, where everyone, regardless of background or experience, has a chance to contribute and thrive. 4, inclusiveness. Together, we can move this city forward in a manner that will foster growth, strengthen our community, and pave the way for a bright future. And number 5 is kindness. Finally, kindness has been a guiding pillar for me since I was elected 2 years ago, and it remains essential to our community. Our community needs this. Kindness is the foundation upon which we build stronger connections and more supportive, understanding environment for everyone. It may seem simple, but kindness holds immense power. It reflects how much you care. Even when others are unkind, responding with kindness can make all the difference. Sometimes people just need a space to vent, and your compassion might be exactly what they need to heal. In closing, I want to emphasize something that's often easy to overlook. The work we do as leaders isn't about us, it's about you. The residents of this city are at the heart of everything we do. It's about making sure you have a place that is safe, thriving, and full of potential. It's about creating environments where families can grow, businesses can succeed, and individuals can find purpose. Your needs and aspirations will always guide us as we move forward. I am excited for the work ahead. Together, we will build a city where residents are empowered, solutions are found, and our future is bright. Thank you once again for trusting me to serve you. I look forward to continuing this journey with all of you. Let's keep building, growing, and solving problems together, because when we work as one, there is nothing we cannot achieve. Thank you.
Wow, that's kind of hard to follow up. 2 years ago when I first started, I did have black hair, by the way. But I agree with the mayor about transparency. It's very important. About a year and a half ago, I had the honor of doing the Great American Teach-In at our Madeira Beach Fundamental School. And it was a great experience. It really was. And I was supposed to get second graders, but I ended up getting eighth graders. And I'm like, oh, boy. So I thought I'd break the ice and go in and say, you know, classroom was full, and I'd be like, I bet you guys thought when I walked in that I was a new student, you know? And they just kind of stared at me. And then the kid in the front row raised his hand and he goes, I knew you weren't a new student because you're too tall and you have gray hair. So what we can learn from our children is transparency also. And we have a great team up here and throughout our whole Madeira Beach team. I'm looking forward for the next 2 years to work with everyone here. And we're very resilient. You know, after September the 26th, we became closer. We became stronger. And I've lived here since 2005, and I just believe that this community is so special. And everyone up here, we don't do it for the money, we do it because we love Madeira Beach. And on that note, thank you very much for trusting me for another 2 years, and thank you very much.
I also like to echo Mayor Brooks and Commissioner McGee. Transparency is number one. We need to be open to our public. We need to let everybody know what the plan is, what we discuss, what goes on in Madeira Beach. Kindness, Mayor Brooks talked about kindness. It is pillar number one, actually. Without kindness, where would we be? You know, we could agree, we could disagree, but at the end of the day, we need to come together and help move this town forward and resolve any concerns and issues. There are citizens out there that are just wonderful and they have ideas that are totally different or somewhat different than some of the other folks. I would encourage them, I would love to ask them to come to this, the chamber and discuss that with us, bring up the good ideas. Let's share those. Let's come up with good decisions. Let's move this city forward. Last but not least, I would love to also discuss about our staff. I think we have the most wonderful staff in here. They work very, very hard. Like to thank them, thank the staff, and also, again, thank our citizens for giving us, this opportunity to serve. And we are public servants here, and I love to be the best public servant out there. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. If there are no changes,
We have appointment of the vice mayor.
oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to skip that. I thought that would be much more convenient. Appointment of the vice mayor, city manager.
You can go ahead.
City attorney was gonna read the,
I'll go ahead and read the provision of the charter that applies relative to the selection of the vice mayor. Specifically, City Charter Section 4.4, it's titled Vice Mayor. It reads as follows. The Board of Commissioners shall appoint a vice mayor at its first regular meeting following the election. The term of vice mayor shall be for 1 year. The vice mayor shall act as mayor during the absence or disability of the mayor. Should the vice mayor be required to act as mayor for a period of excess of 30 days, he/she shall receive the compensation of the mayor retroactive to the date upon which he/she assumed the mayoral duties. That's how it reads. It can either be done by way of a nomination or a motion. My suggestion would be a motion. If it's seconded, then you can address that. If there's more than, if you want to do it by nomination process, believing that there may be more than one person that wants to do that position, we could take nominations and then vote by either ballot or by separate motion after the nominations. It's up to you, Mayor. My suggestion is a motion.
Do we have a motion?
Can I ask a question first, Tom? Can a person who's interested nominate themselves?
Yes, absolutely.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Kerr for vice mayor.
Are there any other nominations? Being no other nominations, then you want to have that be as your motion, and there'll be a second? Would someone make the second, and then we'll vote on that?
Yes,
Your
that
motion,
would be
sir?
my motion.
Okay.
I would like to also nominate Commissioner Kerr as well, with his background and his love for the city. I would like to make that second motion.
Okay, so we've got the second, so we just need, if there's no discussion about the motion, then you can call the roll then.
Commissioner Gabai,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Taglerini,
Yes?
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
City clerk, would you call the roll, please? Yes, or here,
Mayor Brooks,
here.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Here.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Here?
Commissioner McGeehan,
Here.
Commissioner Hoosh,
Yes.
Gabai.
Here.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Kerr.
Thank you.
Now, next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes? Do we have a motion?
Given there are no changes, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as written.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
City clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr, Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabai.
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Mayor Brooks,
Yes.
the motion carried 5-0.
We have no proclamations and no presentations. So we'll read public comment. Public participation is encouraged. If you are addressing the commission, step to the podium and state your name and address for the record and the organization or group you represent. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and do not include any topic on the agenda. Public comment on agenda items will be allowed when they come up. If you would like someone at the city to follow up on a comment or question made at the meeting, you may fill out a comment card with the contact information and give it to the city manager. Comment cards are available at the back table in the commission chambers. Completing a comment card is not mandatory. For any quasi-judicial public hearings that might be on the agenda, an affected person may become a party to a quasi-judicial proceeding and can be entitled to present evidence at the hearing, including the sworn testimony of witnesses and relevant exhibits and other documentary evidence, and to cross-examine all witnesses by filing a notice of intent to be a party with the Community Development Director not less than 5 days prior to the hearing. Do we have any public comment?
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. Chuck Dillon, 529 Lillian Drive. First of all, thank you, David, for answering that email, that Newsom email. You did that very well, and thank you. And for anybody that's in that email understands it. Also, just an FYI, building fees are not completely free. So I want everybody to know and realize that completely. The fees are reduced. They are substantially reduced, but to what extent, I'm not sure. And so, David, from your expression, you know, that's news to you. Also, there's 2 days of inspections per week for new construction. With all the new construction we've got going on in the city and with the fees that are being collected, I feel that the inspection should be at least increased to 3 days a week. The 2 days a week is Wednesday, Thursday, and with the work going on and the weather we have here, it can be very hampering on the construction phases. And I know this personally because one of my friends is going through this. Also, I want to reiterate that there's going to be no fees there's no fees to existing homeowners, but if somebody comes in and purchases the property, they are going to be paying the fees. So thank you very much.
Do we have any additional comment?
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Such great leadership here. Congratulations to the new positions and coming back to the board. Very, very happy for my town. I'm Helen Price, 13319 Boca Ciega Avenue, here in the beautiful town of Madeira Beach. And I'm here as the vice chairman of the Board of Trustees for the library. Thought I'd give you an update. Has been a little while. But as you and everyone may know, the library is open and is looking awesome. Folks are really excited about it. A lot of people coming in. All the programs are back. So every single one of the programs, all the children's programs, the mahjong, the meditation, the investment club, I mean, crocheting, it's something going on over there every day. So that's great. And Stanley, our interim director, has started an international film program as well. So look us up on the website and see what's going on. Even better than the library being open is we are still on budget. And everything's going really smoothly money-wise. And I have you all to thank for that because, as you recall, last year, about this time, I presented a budget in which we funded for our insurance deductible. And at the library, to fully fund our insurance deductible was, I don't know, it was quite a lot, 40,000, something like that, 60,000. Well, thanks to you, we don't have, we had that money on hand and we're able to jump right in, get the library up and moving very, very quickly after the flood. It didn't flood a whole lot, just the bottom level of some books. So, but new carpeting, new electrical, new shelving, things like that. So thank you for that. And the budget, of course, will be coming up again pretty soon. And I do have a favor, which I will be emailing everybody, but according to the interlocal agreement, the library is supposed to present its budget in April for you to approve. The reality is, none of the towns look at the library budget until it's budget time. And plus, we're kind of going back and forth, still getting the library up to snuff. So what we'd like to do, even though we think it's very, very similar to last year, if not a little bit less, I will be asking you, for you to discuss, about a 60-day extension for that, because none of the towns are ready to approve the library budget without talking about their city's budgets. And we never hear by July like we're supposed to anyway. We always hear in September, so we might as well continue that trend, just a heads up. The BRIC fundraiser is still underway and it ends on April 1st. So if you'd like to buy a brick, we are going to be displaying them in the front of the library. At one point, we thought we'd redo the patio in the back, but no one goes out there, so we'd rather have it right along the front, and that's where we have to put in our order to get a lump sum, so all the shipping costs are coming in at the same time. And so if anyone wants to have their name in front of the library, please go on our website and take a look. Let's see. Finally, I would like to just give a shout out to Deb Toth, who is the representative from Treasure Island. Not sure if she will be a commissioner after today, so to the extent that the new mayor is listening, she's done an awesome job for the last 6-7 years that I've been on the board. And this budget is just one of them. Between her and Stanley, they really do a great job. So I just want to say thank you to Deb Toth. I hope you come back whether you're a commissioner or not. And thanks again, you guys. Awesome job.
Thank
Thank
you.
Any questions?
I just have a comment.
Okay.
Now, I was in the library before the meeting here
Oh,
as a temporary remote office, and everything, like you said, it looks great. So I would ask that maybe we get the library budget item put on the next workshop.
just the extension. I mean, I could probably get you something, but
Well, at least we
we
can
haven't had a
discuss
whole lot of meetings to talk about it, and it would probably not be the best budget to present next month to you. And
Happy, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
How many cities does this library serve?
5.
Would you be able to name those?
Yeah, it's Treasure Island, Madeira. Let's see, we've got
Readington?
3 Reddingtons. Shores, yeah, the 3 Reddingtons. So we're all connected.
And as far as budget, do they contribute monetarily to,
Everybody contributes according to their population.
Okay.
So Madeira gives the second highest amount.
Okay.
Even though Madeira Beach patrons are going to our library a lot more than any other town. So Treasure Island pays the most, then Madeira, then it's quite the drop down to the 3 Reddingtons.
thank you.
And we pay just, all right. Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Tagliarini, for covering for me. The next 2, 2 of the 3 next meetings, I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Whenever I come back, they go, where's David? So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I'm Rick Morales, Public Information Officer with the SBA Disaster Assistance for the record. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I have met and engaged with the mayor in the Chamber of Commerce activities, and I have seen him also in the chamber meetings. So this is a highly impacted area by Milton Helene. That's why I'm here to provide the updates. Mayor, I'm gonna keep it short within the 5 minutes. Of course, the main topic is the extension for the physical damages deadline. That's until April the 27th. So that's the most important information for physical damages, homeowners, renters, nonprofit, and businesses. So that's very important to know. The deadlines that are not approaching are for economic damages. That's for the summer for businesses and nonprofits. We still have the BRC Business Recovery Center in the epicenter, St. Petersburg College in Clearwater, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is a great outreach, Mayor. Thanks once again. This is recorded, so that's why we are here, so more people can know about us, that we are still here. And also the number 800-659-2955, 800-659-2955. The people can call the customer service center number for the SBA. They can ask any questions for the status of the applications. So we are still encouraging the people to apply with us, to appeal, to reconsider. So for any kind of question, they can visit the Business Recovery Center. Even though that we are not grants, we have done great, and we have approved like 412 million for Milton and 300 millions each for Helene. So the people is still taking advantage of these federal funds. So we have done great. Also, I want to mention that the benefit, the most important one, is the 1-year deferment with 0% interest rates. That's why the people is applying with this, because they can get back in their feet quicker and faster, because within that time, they can use that money, and we are most of the times more affordable than the normal financial institutions like the banks. So the people they are still applying with us, and that's why we're still here. And because this is an area in need, basically in homeowners, most of the damages are in homeowners, so they are still applying with us. And yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. And once again, yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment? With no additional public comment, next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. If the commission has had the opportunity to review the minutes. Any comments?
I have one question. Should we approve all the minutes in one? Okay, one vote.
You can approve them all at
Yes.
once, unless there is someone that has a change to one of them, you may want to do them separately.
Okay.
That's normally why we would do them separately, but,
Thank you.
but a motion can be made for all four.
So I would like to make a motion to approve, should I be specific or just say all?
Approval of the minutes set forth in agenda items 11A, B, C, and D would work.
Yes?
Do we have-
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gabayie?
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr?
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan?
Yes.
Mayor Brooks?
Yes,
The motion carried 5-0.
thank you. We have nothing on the consent agenda, so the first item is public hearings, ordinance 2025-01, personnel policy, first reading and public hearing. City Attorney?
Yes, first of all, the first three ordinances that we're going to hear tonight, 2025-01, 02, and 03, were provided to you at the workshop meeting on February 26th. My partner, Rob Eschenfelder, was here to discuss those. I'm just going to, since you have been fully briefed on all three of these, I'm just going to go ahead and read them by title only. Ordinance, the first one, ordinance 2025-01, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, adopting a new personnel policy, repealing ordinance 2019-13, and providing for an effective date. And obviously, this requires a public hearing.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, any comments?
Mayor, I'd just like to confirm that this is the version of the manual that is the most recent recommendation from the Civil Service Committee without any changes.
That is correct. It's the same one that you saw at the workshop meeting, and no changes have been made.
Thank you.
Any comments?
The only comment is, I think we kind of went over it on the workshop. I really don't have anything to add.
I agree.
Well, I don't. I have 4 comments.
Okay.
After the meeting, I took some time I had asked a lot of questions at the meeting on some things that I didn't really understand. And one of the questions that I had asked is, did the Civil Service Commission implement into the handbook that we were looking at the recommendations that had come from the staff? So I went out and had some conversations, and I misunderstood because I was under the impression that that had happened. And I went out on several of the items when I read through, and I took exception, went out and had some conversations. So I would like to bring four things up to the commission for discussion before we vote on this. The first one is the on-call status. The on-call status, it's under pays, hours, and work, and the work week. It's page 73 of our packet. The on-call status 4A exempts employees who are ineligible for on-call status. My concern on that is exempt employees are our fire chief, our deputy fire chief, our fire marshal. I believe our city manager is on call. Our public works director is on call. Those are just the ones that I know are on call. So wouldn't we want to exempt them? I mean, to not have them exempted from on-call status. I don't understand why we would exempt exempt employees. I'm sorry, I'm confusing the words, but why on-call status exempts employees are ineligible for on-call status. That doesn't make sense to me, because those people are exempt employees and they're always on call. So I'd like that to be clarified. Even when I asked, I didn't understand that.
I have a question.
Okay, because
The positions that you're speaking of, are they a salaried position or are they an hourly position?
they are salaried, so here's what I didn't understand. If you're saying that, and this wasn't in their old handbook, so if you're saying that for on-call status, exempt employees are ineligible for on-call status, does that mean that, what does that mean?
Feels like a double negative.
Right, it doesn't make sense to me. And Robin, maybe you can help me understand that?
I think the purpose of on-call is for employees who are scheduled to respond. They are scheduled as on-call to respond as when something arises, and it's typically you're in a public works situation, your utilities, a line breaks, or something happens in a bathroom, and we need somebody to respond, whether it's in the overnight or on a Saturday or a Sunday, the hours that were typically not open. So the purpose of it would be for those personnel, not for salaried personnel. I don't consider that the salaried staff are on call. I mean, we work all the hours that are necessary to work and subsequently are compensated based on that work arrangement that we agreed to do.
So is it about, it's about money? Because here's where it becomes, in my mind, confusing. If the fire chief is on call all the time, and he's an exempt employee, how is he ineligible for on-call status? He's always on call.
May I?
Yeah.
It looks like this is a subsection of pay hours of work, pay eligibility. So aren't they speaking of overtime?
It doesn't really say that. That's my problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't really, I think that it can be misleading. It doesn't really say that. And it was an issue for staff because it's not clarified. So my question is there some way that we could clarify that?
Mayor, on item C, doesn't it say on-call hours for non-exempt employees are eligible for overtime? Is that, am I misreading that?
No, because they're exempt. So that says non-exempt.
Right, so they
So-
can get overtime. But you're concerned that the the salaried employees are not eligible for overtime? Is that what you're saying?
I think that the sentence is confusing to staff. And if it's confusing to me, that I don't understand it. Because they're on call all the time, but it says an exempt employee is not, if this is about money, it should say that they don't get overtime. period. It shouldn't say that they're exempt, because they're exempt employees, they can't, it shouldn't read the way it reads. It
Right,
doesn't
but-
make sense.
I guess it's saying they're exempt from the overtime, not,
But so it should say that,
not the call. on
right?
call.
It should
I
say
got you.
that.
I got you.
It's just my opinion. I don't know how you do that. I don't know, maybe Attorney Eschenfelder. I know that when I spoke with Megan Powers about it, I mean, she didn't, she felt the same way I did.
It almost seems like we could just change item A, exempt employees are ineligible for overtime.
Right, because they're on call all the
Because
time.
as we know, they're,
Right,
they're always
you
on
can't
call.
say they're ineligible for on-call status because they're on call. Unless you define on-call status, you gotta, I mean,
Yeah.
it's this, it doesn't make sense to me.
The way I'm reading it, non-exempt employees, meaning they are eligible for overtime.
They're not non-exempt, though. The fire department, or not the fire department, the
I
chief,
think it's like a play on words.
It is.
The non-exempt employees are eligible for overtime,
correct.
and so the exempt employees, what they're considering salaried employees, your position, you're expected to work as needed to accomplish, just as it says, to accomplish your assigned duties. So they are exempt from overtime. They are exempt for additional compensation.
But it doesn't say that. It says exempt employees are ineligible for on-call status. Exempt employees in our city are on call all the time. That's all. And I do think it's a play on words, but I think my point is, I don't know how to rectify that, but if it's confusing for staff, why can't we just fix it? And if it's a monetary issue, why can't we just add it?
Can we approve the ordinance by just changing that item A, are ineligible for overtime?
So my suggestion is, and this is just the first of 4 things that the mayor is talking about from what
Right.
I've gathered
Right.
so far. So my advice to you tonight is to adopt it as is, and before the second reading, we'll come back with some language that may be acceptable
Okay.
for your consideration and approval, and to address these particular items, whether it's the mayor or any other commission. But I'm making notes.
Okay.
So it's my understanding, paragraph 4A on page IV6, under on-call status, the mayor is suggesting that instead of it saying exempt employees are ineligible for on-call status, it would be exempt employees are ineligible for overtime.
If that is the intent of what they're writing, yes, I think it should
Yeah,
be
I think-
clearer.
Yeah, the intent is so that you're not compensated
Right.
by being on call, but that's not the intent. I guess the terminology of on call is, as I explained it earlier, it's an employee is designated for a specific period of time, whether it be hours or days, to be on call should the need arise to contact that employee to respond to a situation. Usually an emergency, as I stated, there's debris on 140th Avenue and it needs to be removed. We have an employee who has been designated on call to respond. If that employee is being compensated for being on call, typically that employee is a non-exempt employee, an employee who is hourly, who is eligible to be compensated for overtime. They then respond. When they respond, they are then compensated for responding to the situation. Exempt employees typically don't serve that role. Exempt employees work as many hours as are necessary to complete the task. But I understand the language, but could it have been expanded a little bit more? Yes, but the intent is there, but I understand we can add that language.
I think if we could just make it a little, I think that staff would appreciate that as well. The other things I have aren't quite as difficult. And under holidays, floating holidays, it states that floating holidays are to be taken during the year in which they are awarded. I think that should be the fiscal year. And I'll give you an example. So if your holidays are awarded and we're going to run the year January 1 to December 31, and you have 2 floating holidays, you get a raise in October, you save your floating holidays, you get the floating holidays at your raise. But maybe I didn't because I took mine. That's just an example I was given. Fiscal year, the city does everything based on a fiscal year. So why would we designate holidays outside of a fiscal year? Fiscal year starts October, or starts September 1.
October.
October, sorry. So I think that should just have fiscal year, is my opinion. And then on leave of absence is the same thing. Under accumulated vacation, the vacation leave by the end of the calendar year, I would think that fiscal year would be more appropriate. I don't think that it's a big change other than we operate on a fiscal year budget. It makes it a little bit cleaner, I would think. And I had a question on, and we discussed this at the last meeting, and I don't know that it was clear. When you read number 3, it says that accumulated vacation leave will be tracked by payroll. Employees who do not use their vacation leave by the end of the calendar year shall forfeit their remaining unused leave. That reads that if at the end of the year, I haven't used all of we're just going to use 2 weeks as an example of vacation. Say I used 1 week and I had a week, so December 31st, I'm gonna lose my week. But when you look down at the little graph, it says a minimum accrual and a maximum accrual. So in my conversation, to me, this reads that there is no maximum accrual because at the end of the year, I lose anything I didn't use. So is the intent that my minimum accrual in a year, if I've been here for 0 to 4 years, 11 months, is 80? My maximum accrual allowed is 160. So the way that I read that is if I've been here for 2 years and I never took a vacation day, I have 160 hours of vacation. I wouldn't lose anything. But on my 3rd year, if I didn't use and I had 180 hours left, I would lose 20 hours because I can only have 160. Where I think that this is a little misleading is because even though you have this diagram, it specifically states that if you don't use your vacation by the end of the calendar year, you'll forfeit the remaining unused leave. And I think that could use something referencing the accrued hours are allowed. Because it reads that you're going to lose it. Even though the graph says something, the graph doesn't tie. I'm sorry, that's on page 87. And it says at the bottom, vacation leave must be used by December 31st each year.
I understand the desire to put everything in the fiscal bucket, but I don't know that that's the way a typical employee would think. They're going to think more of the calendar year, and everything else is written to the calendar year. I'd suggest we keep that portion
Okay.
in the calendar year. That's just me. I do agree with you that if it states that you're going to lose your unused leave, that there should be or some wordsmith that to the
I agree.
graph
Yes.
below. Yeah, it shouldn't be just blatant, you're going to lose it, because you're not.
Right.
You can bank it, but you have maximums that you can bank.
But you agree they added a little verbiage there that makes it appear you won't get to.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that sentence should be amended with the exception to the banked hours.
Yes.
The
To what this graph
allowable
states,
banked
yes.
hours in graph. I don't even, the graph doesn't have or the chart doesn't have a designation, but it should refer to that chart.
And I would remove that vacation leave must be used by December 31st of each year. Because that's
Again, yeah,
clearly saying you're
right.
not getting to take it over, and that,
But I think they're trying to, as you were indicating, fiscal year, when's the calendar start, when's the calendar stop, that should be listed.
I agree.
calendar year, based on calendar year, or some iteration of that.
I only have one more thing.
Thank you
Um,
for being so detailed. It's
well,
great.
I was, when we left the last meeting, I was very concerned in, I just didn't understand some of it. It was
Okay.
very, and even when we asked the questions and went through it, I still didn't. The last thing is, and I talked to employees about this specifically, is the degree program. And we did talk about this. And after having the conversations with staff, my opinion changed. Originally, the city has always given 100% refund of tuition based on USF's tuition. So it's not, you go to any college, you're not getting 100% reimbursement. You're going to get 100% reimbursement based off of USF. And currently, you get 100% reimbursement if you pass, and you have to commit upon graduation that you work for the city for 1 year. I would like to propose that we keep it at 100% and require a 3-year commitment. And here's why. In speaking with several employees who are participating in our degree program or want to participate in our degree program, we are a municipality, and many of our employees don't make a high salary. In my conversations, because at 100%, they still may be taking classes at a college that the tuition is higher than what USF pays or what USF charges. And they wouldn't necessarily be able to afford to go to college if we only reimbursed 80%. And we don't have a lot of employees who participate in the program. And I think that when you're working, and I said this many times up here, that we don't have that much to pay in salary for many of our employees. So we give it back in who we are as a city, the culture in our city, and in our benefits. And I think that a 100% give back for someone who makes the grades and commits to 3 years to the city, I mean, in my mind, they should be committed forever, right? And I would hope that many of our staff will stay for a very long time here. But I think that's a fair trade for us to support our staff educating themselves. And it is in here, but that staff member cannot go take classes to be a horticulturist if they work in the planning department. But if they work in the recreation department and they would like to further their career with the city as a fireman or as a planner or in the city clerk's office, that would be educating themselves in a role for the city.
So Mayor, so you're saying that they should be eligible for compensation if but they have to be taking a course that's content relevant
Correct.
to
the city.
to city employees?
Yes, yes. Because I wouldn't want to restrict someone who, like, for instance, we had the hurricane, and Jay is losing a number of his staff members because they got reallocated, or he possibly is, I shouldn't say he is, but he possibly is going to lose them. They got reallocated to other departments and they love it. Right? They didn't know they loved it. So now they love that, and they would want to take schooling to be able to excel in that. I think that the 100% based off of how many people we have participate is not a far reach for the city to do, and the trade-off again is 3 years.
I approve that. I mean, I would agree with the 100%, and I don't think 3 years is unreasonable.
So could you summarize the change?
100% tuition reimbursement with a 3-year commitment to work for the city for 3 years upon graduation.
And the other part's already addressed. As far
Correct.
as-
It's already in there.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm okay with that.
I would also
But-
agree with that. Also, 3 years is reasonable. And that's also what they, as usual, the C or better, D's passing, but
D is not passing.
we need to get higher grades, with the graduation also.
After graduation, how would you determine the compensation since they have graduated from college and they need to get a raise, obviously? So how would you, if there's not an agreement between the employee and employer, how would you?
This is reimbursement of tuition
Yeah.
expenses versus compensation.
Right.
This particular section we're talking about.
I see.
It's just tuition reimbursement. Okay.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah,
Is it addressed, what happens once they're reimbursed, but then they decide they're moving on anyway? I'm not going to fulfill my.
Well,
commitment.
according-
Is-
I'm-
Is there?
They have to
discussion
pay
on
it
that?
back. There is. They have to pay it back.
No, I'm in favor.
Yeah. So then, Attorney Trask, would, the recommendation from you would be that we approve it as it is tonight, or vote on it as it is tonight, and then when we do our next meeting, it would come back with these changes, if so agreed by the commission?
That's exactly what
Okay.
I'm suggesting. We'll do it in a red line strikeout so that you can see the changes. And if it's acceptable on the second reading, then it'll be adopted as amended.
Okay.
So.
Any comments?
I don't have any problems with any of your 4 items.
Thank you. Then do we have a motion?
Now, just to be clear, before we make a motion, are we passing just A or A, B, and C?
Just A.
Just
I've only
A.
read the
Just A.
title to one, so it'd be.
Okay, thank you. I move that we pass ordinance 2025-01, new personnel policy.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
may I ask,
Yes.
should we stipulate that there will be conditions added for the next second hearing?
You don't need to do that in the motion. It's understood.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavalle.
Yes.
Mayor Brooks,
Yes.
the motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-02. City Attorney?
Yes, this is ordinance 2025-02, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Division 4 of Article 3 of Chapter 2 of the Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances relating to the Civil Service Commission, providing for conflict, codification, severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2025-02. And again, this was discussed at the workshop on February 26th. There have been no changes to the ordinance since that discussion.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, comments?
I've gone over every point with the chair of that committee, and it's exactly as they are recommending it.
Comments? Comments?
No comments.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to pass ordinance 2025-02, amendment to the Civil Service Commission duties and responsibilities.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavalle,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks,
Yes.
the motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-03. City Attorney?
I'll read this ordinance by title only. Ordinance 2025-03, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, adding Division 5, post-termination hearings, hearing officer, to Article 3 of Chapter 2 of the Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances, providing for conflict, codification, severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2025-03 by title only. And again, this was fully discussed at the workshop on February 26th. There have been no changes to this ordinance since it was originally discussed.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners?
Based on our workshop discussion and having discussed this with the chair, this is something I support.
No comment.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we pass ordinance 2025-03, post-termination hearings, hearing officer.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabahi?
Yes.
Mayor Brooks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-04, plan development. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-04, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 110 zoning, Article 5 districts, Division 10, PD, Plan Development of the city's Land Development Code, providing further information on intent and purpose, including dimensional regulations, specifying requirements for the application for PD zoning, clarifying the review criteria from the local planning agency, clarifying the review criteria from the Board of Commissioners, including standard operating adjustments in changes of development plan, and including options for time extensions, providing for conflict codification and severability, and providing for an effective date. This is the second and final reading of ordinance 2025-04 by title only.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, comments?
I would like to see, as we're talking about this, the PD developments located in the traditional village, the commercial core, boardwalk, low-intensity mixed-use character districts of Johns Pass Village Activity Center cannot exceed the height limits described in the Appendix D. And this is actually on Section 110-387. I would like to see the commercial core. I would like to see those words removed so that the city has more flexibility when negotiating with developers. As we know, that our revenue has gone down dramatically. We also need to look outside the box and come up with different ways to create revenue. This will help us because it's going to help us talk directly with the developers, what the city can get out of it and what the developers can get out of it. 2025-04, I agree, as long as the commercial core is taken out of the wordage.
Makes sense.
Comments?
Well, with all due respect, I feel like we put a lot of time and energy into the activity center designation. And in my mind, and it's not going to be a popular opinion, PD shouldn't be necessary. I thought that's what we were trying to get around. So I still feel like a developer has some pretty good flexibility to build something they think would be profitable and good for the city. So I would not support that change. I'd like to see it stay where it is.
I'd like to see it as written.
I would-
If I may,
Yes.
I just like to add that, you know, we can't say flexibility for the developer or developers. A PD, typically speaking, is flexibility for both. It's not just one-sided. When we look at PD, it gives us, as the board, to be flexible to determine whether you want to be giving it this or that. The PD, it just means that, you know, they can bring whatever it is before the board. You don't have to approve it. You don't have to say yes. This doesn't mean that you're automatically granting them their wishes. So, you know, to me, it's a flexibility that not just the developer can enjoy, but also the city.
We also want to look towards the future and reducing our millage rates, you know, and everyone wants to lower taxes, you know. But we have to figure out a way to create revenue in order to, you know, develop and or lower our taxes also.
Well, and you're only asking to remove the commercial core.
Yeah.
Which is the commercial area of Johns Pass that
Right.
has the opportunity to have something built. I mean, I saw what, Robin had a meeting with the developer.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not sure who all saw, but I saw, and I was honest with Jenny. I asked a lot of questions, and I'm not saying I support what I saw, but I support the idea of it. And I support the idea of having a place where people wouldn't even necessarily drive to, but that they would come by Uber and spend their time and money in our town. And I would support removing the commercial core to give us the opportunity to decide what we want to build or what we want to see in that area that is a commercial area.
And it's not an automatic yes.
No, it is not, absolutely not. We've placed a lot of constraints on what's required from the step backs to the architectural. There are a lot of requirements that anyone who, and regardless of what we may have seen or looked at, anyone who brings something to the city, we have already set in place and started the process of a lot of rules that would have to be followed to give us and keep the look that we all agreed we wanted down at Johns Pass, that fishing village.
You're right, so it's not gonna lose it still has conditions not to lose the character of Johns Pass.
How would that differ with any other area?
So number one,
I'm just
This-
saying, if a developer wanted to come in any part of Johns Pass or any part of the city, and it doesn't fit the ordinance, future boards can change anything.
well, they can't change the design intent because we've made sure we put that in there. There are a lot of things that we've voted on.
Right.
A plan development, I don't know. It's, obviously, it would want something, whether it's, I don't know. I don't, because
I'm
I
saying,
don't know. Here-
anything a board is voted to do can be overturned by future boards.
It can be.
So if something was presented to the city and as Commissioner McGeehan's saying, if it brought revenue, you're suggesting whatever changes could bring revenue, well, that would be a decision that a future board or a later board would have to make. But it wouldn't necessarily have to be, I mean, we've been going over this for so many years.
That little paragraph right there
Yeah.
was just added. That paragraph right there has not been
This
part of
wasn't in
this.
the workshop?
It was in our first vote, but that wasn't specifically understood that was there. I understand the idea of what this is, but the commercial core to me is a different area of Johns Pass when you talk about doing something in that area. But here's what I also know. So this board sits here and we vote. There is no plan development coming to us until it has spent an exhaustive amount of time with the planning department, community development. And I will tell you what I told Jenny, and Andrew was there, my expectation sitting up here is that they will hammer out the very best deal for the city. Any developer who comes to build in this city is going to try to hammer out the best deal for themselves. And they should, because that's what they do for a living and that's what they're in for. But the city shouldn't leave anything on the table that can be the benefit for the city. And that job starts in that department, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And we have a great team there. And then when it leaves that department, it has to go before the planning commission. And it has to go through many meetings in the planning commission before it ever makes it to the Board of Commissioners to vote on. So I think the commercial core is a great area for something to be developed there. Everybody complains about the parking lots that are there. They're complaining about parking. Is there an opportunity for the city to get some parking or get a part of a parking garage that we don't have to pay for, that we're not going to build, but we can add it and it can be something beautified and not, something that doesn't fit in that area?
So what you're saying is that any other area of the city, you can't have a planned development?
This is specific, and Jenny can answer that, but
Well,
this.
any
this-
other of Johns Pass Village?
Right, this is specific. It says planned developments located in the traditional village, commercial core, boardwalk, and low-intensity mixed-use character districts of Johns Pass Activity Center cannot exceed the height limits prescribed in Appendix D, Johns Pass Village Activity Center Development Standards. what Commissioner McGeehan is suggested and is to remove the commercial core district only, that it would not be excluded, that you still cannot get a plan development higher than the prescribed height limits for the other areas of Johns Pass Activity Center.
But the commercial core could exceed.
Could.
Yes,
The height
it would
It
be,
Yes, that is, it could if it was negotiated and if it was built by design to something that planning department and the commission.
I had some other questions before Commissioner McGeehan, so if I could just step in with these. Can you, can you tell me what's the difference between a step back and a setback?
Yeah, so the step back is on, so we see it in a few different districts. You'll have the first ground floor level will be at the setback, say if that's 0 in some cases, like traditional village. And then the story above it will have like a setback, but it's called a step back that's, say, 10 feet inward.
Okay, I remember we discussed this now. I just didn't know that. Thank
The
you.
wedding cake effect.
Got it. Later on, it says a PD development must meet the intent and criteria, including but not limited to density, intensity, and impervious surface ratio of the future land use plan categories, Madeira Beach Comprehensive Plan. So does this mean that a developer could increase the units per acre of a structure to a higher units per acre than we set forth in our activity center
No.
designation?
No, they would have to adhere to the density and intensity requirements that are set forth.
Thank you. I just have a couple more. Flexibility in building height may be allowed provided the development is compatible with surrounding neighborhood. Who makes the decisions regarding compatibility?
That would go to the board to see if it's compatible or not, based on where the development would be.
So that's a board decision.
Yes, we wanted to keep that flexible as well.
Can you explain to me, it says a review by local planning agency. What is can you explain to me what the local planning agency is?
That's a planning commission.
Oh, it's just another word for them.
Yes.
So the PD report and preliminary development plan must not conflict with the public interest and must promote the public health, safety, and welfare. Does this mean that if we have several town meetings and the vast majority of attendees don't approve the plan, that the plan will not be accepted or approved by the city? Does it mean that we will be beholden to the residents if there's a majority?
That would definitely be something that would be addressed. At the neighborhood meetings, those have to be recorded and transcribed. That's given to Planning Commission as well as BOC. And it's typically something that we discuss at these public meetings. And usually you'll see some variation based off of the discussions at the neighborhood meetings.
Thank you. The applicant must hold a neighborhood information meeting with property owners within 300 feet of the proposed development prior to the LPA. So, and I guess I'm asking the board for this as well, is there any way this could be increased to the entire city? And my rationale for that is the entire city visits and uses Johns Pass Village. My rationale is that Johns Pass Village does not just impact residents 300 feet away, but rather the entire city.
So my thought on that would be that, so 300 get mailers, the entire city's always invited to every public workshop and every neighborhood meeting. You don't have to live 300 feet to come to the neighborhood meetings, and you still get to stand up and be heard.
Can you be an affected party if you're not?
That's an answer.
Not if
for
you're
the-
outside the 300 mark, that we use that as the basis. They would have to meet if they were outside the 300, we would have to make what we call the specific Renard. There's a case called Renard conditions, but normally we first associate it within the first 300 feet. So I can read you, I think I have the Renard decision here. I can tell you what those other conditions are. But it's the farther away you are from the property, the less likelihood that you'll be considered to be an affected party. All right, I don't have it.
My argument is, it's an important part of our city. And I'd like to see, more people have the potential to state a case for or against.
I feel like you may not be an affected party, but when you do the neighborhood workshops, you don't have to be an affected party to come to that and speak. And when we have these meetings, you don't have to be an affected party to come here and speak. When the planning commission does their meetings, you don't have to be an affected party to go to theirs and speak. And I mean, I think it would be wonderful if more people came and gave their opinions.
But if you are in the 300 feet, you get a letter.
Yes,
And that's what, I know it's probably a hassle, but that's what I'm shooting for. A letter in my mailbox tells me what's going on at John's Pass. Well, I want to be super involved in that.
I guess the opposite to that would be, are we prohibited from sending a letter to all properties or all residents? Is there anything in law preventing us, because we don't have these that frequently, so it's a seldom, it's an additional cost to provide and mail, but it doesn't happen that often. Is it worthwhile, justifiable? I mean, I think that's another question to ask.
Could we change the 300 to 500?
The answer to that is yes, you can do that.
Would that make you happy?
Well, I mean, my point is, it's a citywide, it's the soul of the city in a lot of ways. And I feel like even people up in District 4 should have some say about, or at least be able to say how it affects them, for or against. That's, I guess we can ponder that, but I have just a couple more, sorry. It says outdoor storage of merchandise or materials shall be prohibited, but this is lined through. Jenny, can you tell me why this is lined through? Does that mean the storage of merchandise?
Can you tell me which section that is?
I was afraid you can ask me that.
We can't hear you, Andrew.
Is it the crossed out number 9, outdoor storage of merchandise?
Yes,
Or material?
that's it, that's it.
The section is under like section 110-393, reviewed by Board of Commissioners.
So what's the answer to that question? Can they store things outside?
It would mean that the Board of Commissioners would have to approve allowing number 9 to occur.
Okay. Sorry, there's just one more. The use of employment of any of the following is generally considered inappropriate and will not be permitted unless appropriately integrated into a project meeting with all our criteria, including aesthetic criteria of this article. Corrugated metal siding, and then it just says for C, primary color is black and then nothing. Is this a typo, or could you explain to me what that means?
That must have been.
Item 7.
It's
must
not a
have been a
typo,
typo
it's
there.
just referring to C and then D.
Where
Yes,
is
that's
that at?
correct.
So you're going A, B, C, and D. That's what the
Okay,
and is, the
okay.
collector there.
Okay, thanks. All the questions I feel that I asked have been satisfactorily answered, but I'm not, I'm not going to support the removal of commercial core from this ordinance.
I just have you'd have to strike the whole thing or not strike anything, in my opinion.
You
The
could
whole
just,
paragraph.
You'd
you
have to,
could strike just the commercial core if that's what the board wanted to do, or strike all of the the traditional village, commercial core, low intensity mixed use.
well, the whole idea of a PD is to not, not comply with current zoning. So if I just have a problem with just picking a certain spot within the village, or a certain section. Or not, you need to, the paragraph, in my opinion, needs to stand or not stand. It needs to,
And just for reference, up on the screen has all the character districts. So the commercial core is that orange color. So the ones with the current draft of the PD section of the code prohibits the traditional village, so that yellow, commercial core, the orange, boardwalk, the pink, and the low intensity mixed use character district, which is on Pelican, that turquoise.
how many public sessions did we go through on this? To get to this point?
A lot.
A
And we
whole
had,
years.
I think we had 3 of the round tables where we
specifically to the
specifically
village.
talked about height and setbacks and step backs as well.
Yeah.
Jenny, if you were to draw a radius from commercial corridor, let's say 300 foot and 500 foot and 1,000 foot, let's say, where would 300 foot bring us and where would 500 foot bring us?
We'll go up to maps and kind of show you. Andrew will.
We usually use the Pinellas County Property Appraiser for the radius search and to generate the addresses. So I can actually run it with the different distances so I can show how many addresses it would mail to. I'm just going to pick this building as an example in the commercial core. So when we do the mailings, we go to tools and radius search, and we can make mailing labels based on the distance. So if I do 300 feet, there's only like 33 properties within that, and most of them are owned by, most of them are just the commercial properties within 300 feet. But if I did 1,000 feet, there would be about 384 individual parcels or property owners that would get. So 1,000 feet would probably cover most of the activity center, it looks like, from looking through the,
How many at 500?
at, uh, 176 at 500.
Versus how many for 1,000?
It was like 384.
I think to address Commissioner Tagliarini's concern, we could probably request 1,000 foot radius.
I was actually satisfied with City Manager Gomez's suggestion that nothing says we can't send a letter out
As a
to
city.
everyone. Maybe not make them all impact,
Mhm.
but they could at least get a letter. So I was fine with that. My only sticking point is the commercial core change.
But the majority of, obviously, the majority of, how many residents are in the commercial core?
Honestly, down in Johns Pass, I can't think. Technically, in that turquoise building, the condo units were originally residential, but they're rented out as nightly rentals now. They're like, but that was like the only thing down there that really could have been residential. And then I think in traditional village, there's
There's
an-
one unit.
yeah, so there really isn't much that's why
Really not that many residential areas in the commercial.
yeah,
core.
you'd really have to do 500 or 1,000 feet to get some of those residential areas from surrounding areas like on 129 or along the beach side.
So that's totally different than like the traditional village or the other areas down there also, as far as residents.
I think 1,000 feet would be a fair compromise. 'Cause
1,000 feet?
That would basically cover the whole activity center, including all the residential areas in it or nearby. I think that'd be fair, because doing a whole, because someone far north end of Madeira Beach definitely should come to meetings, but wouldn't really be affected by as much as someone at 1,000 feet definitely could be
Right.
affected by, because it'd be pretty close to it. So I think 1,000 feet would probably be a fair compromise.
Would they be Tom, would they be affected parties? Say if it was changed to 500 feet, then it would be everybody who received a mailer within that 500 feet, then would be the affected party?
That's correct. And by the way, I found that Renard case and to give you the conditions. So I'm talking about the case of Bernard versus Dade County. This is a 1972 case. And the court looked at the following factors: proximity of the property to the property to be rezoned, as in rezoned to a PD, the character of the neighborhood, including the existence of common restricted covenants and setback requirements, and the type of change proposed are the considerations. And then the case goes on to say, the fact that the person is among those entitled to receive notice under the zoning ordinance is a factor to be considered on the question of standing to challenge the proposed zoning action. That's the key. So the more people you throw in the pot, the more people then could be considered having standing or affected party. And the more people that can stand on the podium right here and have the ability to ask questions and cross-examination and put on their own cases and so forth, it would be very difficult if we had 300 affected property owners standing at the dais. That doesn't mean that they can't stand there and tell you their position and what their thoughts are on the particular matter, but giving them the ability to cross-examine witnesses and bring experts and that type of thing, it'll make it very, very difficult. So I would recommend against having some huge parameter, more than 500 feet.
So nothing more than 500 and right around between 300 and 500 area.
You also have to think of any other PDs, not just in Johns Pass Village area.
Right, this is going to affect citywide, correct?
Yes.
Right, this
Okay.
PD, this is citywide, and the original conversation was just about the commercial core. And if we take it back to that, Commissioner McGeehan wanted to remove commercial core. Vice Mayor Kerr says his opinion is the whole paragraph or none.
All or nothing.
All or nothing. So I think the question here is, Commissioner Taglerini said that he's good with the 300 feet after the understanding, and I think doing a mailer is a fantastic idea. We've done that on some things, and I think that would be just a fantastic to get people involved and understand. But so to me, the question here is the consensus to remove commercial core or to remove the whole paragraph? I personally can go either way. I'm not sitting here advocating for plan developments. However, and I've stated this and I've been clear on how I feel about them, I do see them as an opportunity for the city to have some real say in a building that gets built and the opportunity. So I am for the opportunity for the city to negotiate with anyone who wants to build something in our city for what would best suit our community.
Well, I would also be totally fine, which is like you said, Vice Mayor, is getting just rid of the whole paragraph, you know? Also, you also have to look at the fact that Johns Pass is our ideal location for not only residents, but also people on vacation alike, you know? And luckily, the stores down there are able to rebuild after the hurricanes, you know, the first floor. So I'm still, I could go either way, get rid of the commercial core or just get rid of that whole paragraph.
John's Pass being where it is, close to Treasure Island, I'm assuming that portion of that radius includes Treasure Island homeowners.
I think it depends on what property it is, but that might be a little too far away. If it did capture anybody, it'd be pretty small. Thank you, Andrew. That's 1,000.
I see, okay.
I'll make the motion.
You want to have any more comments?
I think if there's something on the boardwalk, it might just barely,
Thank
if
you.
even.
I can see your
500 feet, or that would be more to encompass other areas within the activity center or near it, if you guys decide to go that direction.
I'm sorry, I'm struggling to find the paragraph that you're referencing, Commissioner McGeehan. Can you give me some guidance what page or we can find this?
I think it's on the screen,
It's on page
Green.
248 of your packet.
248.
section 110-387.
Right.
Paragraph.
Yeah, that last paragraph.
Page 3 of 11. There we go. 248 in the packet. Kind of bolded up on the screen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Was this paragraph in on the first reading?
Yes, it
Yes.
was.
So you're suggesting that we remove height limits from all of the character districts?
No, I'm not.
No, I mean, if we remove that paragraph.
I'm not suggesting keeping it in or keep it or not. I'm suggesting that we shouldn't be up here picking winners and losers throughout the city as far as where we are willing to discuss height limits or changing height limits. We've done it throughout the city in different areas. I know we've gotten a lot stricter on that. Do we want to, I mean, the whole idea of a PD is I'm going to propose something that doesn't fit zoning requirements, regardless what it is, whether it's height, whether it's,
I know the city will benefit from it. I know the stores, whatever.
well, we don't know. We, apologize,
What
but
we do know,
we know how would it benefit.
any kind of PD that goes down there is going to be great exposure for John's Pass, the boardwalk. Like I said, people that come here throughout different counties, give
Well,
them more opportunity to go explore. Why should we limit someone or at least be flexible about it? I'm not saying the whole entire city. I'm just saying an area where there is no residents, basically, you know?
well, there are, but, you know, the whole idea of an activity center is just that. It's for neighboring
Exactly.
cities to come
I
visit
remember.
us and
Yeah,
spend their day, spend their time, spend their money.
absolutely.
All the businesses down there.
And
So
create more
we have to,
revenue.
we have
Yeah.
to create, but we have to keep the essence of the we have to keep it as a place people want to come for the day, not for
That's,
the week.
well, yeah, there's still regulations. I mean, you can't build an amusement park down there or anything. You still
But,
have
but
to
we're getting
abide
off, we're getting
by-
off topic. The topic is,
The original topic
is do we want to
was,
specifically
yeah,
pick an area of the city that has different rules, basically?
So I can agree with Vice Mayor Kerr to strike the whole paragraph. And because if we have PDs, why would we restrict anybody for a PD? Just because you can submit for a PD doesn't mean you're gonna get it. A plan development is not a 3-2 vote. It's at least 4 commissioners have to vote for it. My greatest wish would be that if we ever do vote on a plan development, the 5 of us, that it's 5-0.
Sure.
That it is a project that is negotiated with the city and the community and the developer, that maybe we don't all get exactly what we want, but we all get what is good for the city and can agree on a project would be, and I'm gonna agree that I would say we should get rid of the whole paragraph. And this is a level playing field. These are the rules for a plan development. This is what you have to do to get a plan development. You've got to jump through all these hoops, and there are a lot of hoops and a lot of money somebody has to spend to bring a plan development before the city. It's not something that any developer would do lightly, right? It's not. There are lots of requirements, so.
get rid of the whole paragraph.
the
Mayor, can I
essence
ask
of
one?
what
I'm
we
sorry, I need another
created-
clarification
Yes.
question. Sorry, Jenny. If we were to delete that whole paragraph, yes, that one right there, how would that impact the height restrictions currently in place? How would that impact?
It wouldn't, it would only impact if someone was applying for a PD rezoning. They would be able to come to the city, to the board, asking for an increase in height. Doesn't mean that they automatically get it, but they could ask for it.
And so this paragraph is saying that they can't even ask for it? Is that right?
Correct. They could still ask for the flexibility in a step back and a setback, but not the height.
Yeah, that, that doesn't make it better for me. Sorry. Just,
Do we have any more discussion,
Done.
Vice Mayor?
No, it's pretty clear. Either we keep the paragraph or we don't.
Do we have a motion?
Making a motion to pass ordinance 2025-04 plan development, as long as we get rid of the paragraph. Make it an even playing field.
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavayi.
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
no.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 4-1.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-05, and I will give this to the city attorney.
Mayor Commissioners, ordinance 2025-05, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending chapter 94 floodplain management, division 10, flood resistant development, article 1, buildings and structures, section 94-103, manufactured homes and recreational vehicles of the city's land development code, providing for the use of recreational vehicles as temporary shelters on residential properties following a natural emergency, providing for conflict codification and severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2025-05 by title only.
Do we have any public comment? No public comment. Commissioners, comments?
No comment.
No comments?
Have there been any changes since our first vote?
No, no
Okay,
changes.
thank you.
Comments? With no more comments, do we have a motion?
I move we pass ordinance 2025-05, temporary shelters on residential property.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabai.
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-06. City Attorney?
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2025-06, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending the capital improvements element of the comprehensive plan of the City of Madeira Beach to update the capital improvement program schedule of capital improvements for fiscal years 2025 through 2030, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2025-06 by title only.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners,
No comment.
do we have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-06, amendment to capital improvement element of comprehensive plans.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gabai,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-07, and I will hand this to the City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-07, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, creating section 110-841 of subdivision 1 in general of Division 13, adult entertainment uses of Article 6, supplementary district regulations of Chapter 110 zoning of the Code of Ordinances to prohibit persons under the age of 18 to enter, remain in, or purchase goods or services at an adult entertainment establishment, to provide persons under the age of 21 years to prohibit persons under the age of 21 years to be an employee of an adult entertainment establishment, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2025-07 by title only, and there have been no changes since the first reading.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, comments?
No comment.
No comment.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to pass ordinance 2025-07, adult use restriction.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabai.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-08. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-08, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, adopting a revised Appendix A Fees and Collection Procedures Manual of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, to add a declared disaster sanitation fee, repealing ordinance 2024-22, providing for conflict, codification, severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2025-08 by title only.
Good evening.
Do we have any public comment? Oh, Megan, do you want to present anything before they speak?
They can have them. I would have them. If you have public comment, come up to the mic, please.
Jim and Jane Shiflett, 483 South Bay Shore Drive. We were here before about the fees. We've noticed the new ordinance, but it still says that you have to have a demolition permit. We don't have a demolition permit. We plan on demolishing them to the ground. But if we want to change the footprint, keep the footprint, then we understand that we have to present plans or whatever. We're not at that step yet. So it's a catch-22 for us. We don't have that demo permit, so it doesn't qualify for us to get the reduction in the fees. We don't have an interior, we have no demo permits. So that's our dilemma.
And maybe we can get a interior demo permit and we still plan to tear the house down? Maybe that's the,
Is that our solution?
is that our solution? Okay,
Okay,
okay. Thank you very much.
we're good. Stay until 11.
We aren't either, we hope. So I think, Commissioner Taglerini, this was, when we had this last discussion, we talked about cost. Is this where we're going to,
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Andrew is going to.
Andrew's going to present the dollars to us?
Thank you, yes.
Sure. So if y'all are ready for that now, I can provide you with the fee reduction impact that I put together that's in your packet. But basically, the unknown is really the quantity, right? So that's why I wanted to provide multiple scenarios of the number of applicants that would qualify, that would receive this fee reduction. So I provided, I believe, 9 different options: 75, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 750 applicants that would receive approval for this to move forward. So based on those different scenarios, I also presented 3 different types of reductions. One was reduction to $10, one to $15, and one to $20. And then there's also the question of duration. How long do you want this program to go into effect until it's at some point eventually rescinded and back to the regular $38.74 for all customers. So that's for the 64 gallon. Remember, we also have a 96 gallon for $14.50, but we were just anticipating bringing that cost down to, let's say, $10. But if you had a 96 gallon, then we'd increase that by the $14.50. So no additional adjustments if you had a 64 to a 96 gallon toter. So you can see here the different scenarios, what that cost reduction would look like. And then I also provided multi-year historical financial statements so you can see the financial position of the sanitation fund over time, where there was really that change in net position line is what's really important, where you can see a trending decrease in 2019, 2020, 2021, and that's when I came on board at the city in the summer of 2020. We looked at that over time, and then in 2022 enacted a fee increase to get that change in net position higher, which is where you see for the last 3 fiscal years, 24, 23, and 22, which is allowed us to then build up the reserves. So if that could give you some comfort going into this, that there has been multi-year for the last 3 years increases in that change in net position, revenues exceeding expenses, then perhaps that would give you more comfort overall. I can't tell you what this exact financial impact is going to be because we just don't know the number of applicants that would move forward with this fee reduction. But you can see in the different durations overall, at the most, it could go up to, if we're going to do this over 12 months and reduce this to $10 and 750 applicants, that could be about a $250,000 or so financial impact over that 12-month period to the city, to the sanitation fund. And then also, we'll be looking at an initial implementation cost as well, is where you see on that line, in case you're confused, in that based on that volume of applicants, we want to have a better technology solution around the intake to allow customers to go to a portal, submit any required documentation, and go through a workflow approval process here at the city and track the status of those rather than a more informal email us your information kind of proposal, which might work for 10 or 15 or 20 applicants, but when you get above that, we want a little something more robust from a technology standpoint. So there would be an initial cost to that as well. And so that's that estimate. But that's the different scenarios I provided you. Obviously, if we go over a longer duration, that'll be of a greater cost to the city in terms of greater revenue reduction. But wanted to give you a full spectrum of options there in terms of different costs to look at, 10 to 15 to 20, as well as the potential impact on the applicants that would move forward.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you putting so much time into that. That helps me to understand things better. Thank you.
Sure.
Commission, any comments? Comments?
Do we have any idea, I mean, it's a broad spectrum from 75 to tenfold, that 750 applicants. Do we have any idea of how many applicants we're really potentially
I don't
looking?
really think we have a way to estimate, but I can tell you that looking at a spreadsheet that planning and zoning keeps pretty active, there are 869 interior demolition permits.
And over 100
100
full demos.
Yeah, we're
12.
over 100.
Yes, I was just
Full
about to say
demos.
that.
Okay, so it would be over 100.
So
The interior, they're going to be back in soon, quickly. So
Depends if any of those turn into full demos, and what that
Correct.
looks like.
no,
looking over,
but you are correct. I mean, some of them will be moving back into their homes within the next, some as early as within the next few weeks, but certainly over the next few months, there's going to be likely hundreds that are going to be moving back into their homes. So we just, again, as stated, we just don't know, but the data we have would indicate there's 800 plus interior demos, 110 approximate full demo. The full demos are removed from the billing automatically. That's our process that we've been following for full demos.
Automatic.
okay?
It is not
Well,
automatic.
I mean, we
They
notify.
must contact us.
Oh, I'm sorry, to
Yes.
clarify, thank you.
For the complete demolition, they must call in. Yes.
We have 112 as of today,
Full demolition.
full demos, yes.
approved.
Jenny, do you have any idea how many interior remodel permits we have? I don't see that tab on this sheet.
Let me see.
I think there were over 400.
It's permits under review, 407. Full demo, 112. Interior demo, 812.
Okay.
Interior remodel, 477.
477.
So potentially,
So in
Large.
my gut, I'm just going to say 200 would be on the outside, not 750. So if you look over at the 200, so you're balancing that, but you're also balancing, again, in my opinion, what's right. A lot of them you're gonna lose anyway. All they have to do is ask for the full demo. So that's not, we're not even talking about those, so you could take
those out.
take those 100 out of it, and now you're down to a very small number. So,
Likely.
right? I mean, am I misstating? Am I missing something?
The full 100 is not included in the other demo number. Those are independent of,
correct.
those are
Right.
independent of it.
But I'm saying they won't be independent. I'm saying they're gonna be the same people that
No.
are gonna want to not have their trash fees.
And their fee, so if of the 100 and plus that are gonna be full demos, they pay zero right now. The minute they get a full demo permit, they don't have to tear the house down. They can call Megan and get their trash removed to $0
Right.
is the way our ordinance is written.
Okay,
So what was proposed is to allow people who have-
repairing.
are repairing or don't know what they're gonna do. They've done their interior demo, and they can get their trash reduced to $10 a month.
If they get a demo
They
permit.
get a demo permit, but it doesn't have to be for a full demo, just to be able to pull the sheetrock out of the house and that sort of thing.
Okay. So I'm mulling through
Yeah,
this.
no. I've mulled it over
So the
a million times.
So-
Interior demolition
Right.
permit
But-
numbers of the 812,
Right,
I believe
so-
is what Jenny may have
Yeah,
said,
812,
is
812.
separate from the 112 complete demolitions.
Yes.
So in my mind, if you're doing a repair, you're talking months, you're not talking, I mean, and many of them have been working. You already pulled the permit, so they've been doing their electrical and they've been up doing their drywall and, ready to paint. So I don't think they're even interested in going through the process of getting their trash reduction for 2 or 3 months. And if they are, great, but it's not going to impact the city that long. You know, we're looking at scenarios that are a year, 6 months, 700. I think that this is scary, but I don't think this is reality personally. And I go back to what I think is right. So, you're paying a partial fee to make sure the trucks have gas and can be maintained, but you're not paying tipping fees. You know, so the expenses go down, your labor's still the same, your trucks are still the same, they're still, so I get that you're paying something, but I don't know, I'd be in favor of just the proposal of changing the fee down to $10 and until you get your life back in order, and the city will figure it out. That's just me.
So I have thoughts on it. And let me start with, I am not against reducing to the $10. I support that, and I will, if that is what the commission wants, I will vote for that wholeheartedly. What I would like to be sure to say on the record is, if we reduce the trash service down to $10 a month, knowing that we have units that are going to pay $0 because they're torn down, knowing that Megan still has to have the same staff, she still has to maintain the same vehicles. I want everyone here to understand that if she comes back in a year and she's got money problems, because Public Works Sanitation Department has not always been a self-paying department, and they are now. They're an enterprise fund that they can support themselves, but they haven't always done that. I just want this commission to recognize that if she comes back in a year and she's having financial problems with her budget because we did this, and it is the right thing to do. Doing permits away was the right thing to do because we had the funds. I just want everyone here to support her. And I also want you to recognize that and she already has issues, we're not set up to track it, to manage who doesn't have their trash and who does. I rode with her this week, and when I rode with her, we rode past a house that doesn't have trash service currently, and there were limbs out by the road. Who's going to pick those up? We are not picking them up. So then that's going to become a code compliance issue for people who don't comply correctly, right? And I want us all to recognize that, so that when you get the phone call from the resident who's angry because sanitation didn't pick up their debris out to the road, let's support her and be sure that she has our support with the community, and that we, if we take those calls, that we support her and ask the right questions, right? Because my experience sitting with Megan and riding with that department has been that the majority of the calls are misinformation. They forgot it was Tuesday and their trash gets picked up on Wednesday, or, they forgot debris day so it's that sort of thing. And I just want us to recognize that she will need our support, because there will be residents that will be upset, that won't fully understand the process, and they have to request it. She's not going to go out and search the people who obtained permits for anything and discontinues. The resident will have to do that on their own. But like I said, I support it. I just want to make sure that we all understand where she may end up. And maybe that won't happen, and that would be wonderful. I'd love to come back in a year and go, I was worried about nothing, and it was great. But just,
Thank you for saying that out loud.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
so do we have any further comments? If you'll wait till 10 o'clock when we're done. No comments. So do we have a motion?
I move we pass ordinance 2025 2025-08 Fees and Collection Manual.
I'll second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabai. Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-09. City Attorney?
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2025-09, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Section 110-151, Establishment of Districts of Chapter 110 Zoning of Article 5 Districts, Division 1 generally, of the city's land development regulations, renaming the C1 zoning district to Johns Pass Village Activity Center, removing C2 Johns Pass Marine Commercial Zoning District, providing for conflict, codification, and severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2025-09 by title only.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners?
No comment.
Sorry, I have one comment, one question. We're just referring to the Johns Pass Activity Center District. This isn't, we're not talking about getting rid of any other.
That's
This is just C1
correct.
for
So
the,
C2 used to be what now is the Boardwalk Character District.
that just won't
and that
exist anymore.
was correct.
anywhere.
And it doesn't exist right now,
Okay.
so it's just cleaning up.
I got you.
C1 is named this.
Sorry, I
and
need so
there's
much
the-
clarification. Thank you.
Any comments?
No, thank you for requesting the clarification. No, it's pretty cut and dried.
Do we have a motion?
Like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-09 districts.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gabai,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-10. City Attorney?
Mayor Commissioners, ordinance 2025-10, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 110 zoning, Article 6, supplementary district regulations, Division 4, accessory structures of the city's land development regulations to rename the C1 tourist commercial zones to Johns Pass Village Activity Center, add setbacks for each character district of Johns Pass Village Activity Center zoning, and remove references to the C2 zoning district, providing for conflict, severability, and codification, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2025-10 by title only.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, comments?
No comment.
No comments. Comments? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to pass ordinance 2025-10 accessory structures.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabai.
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks. Motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-11.
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2025-11, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 110 zoning, Article 6, supplementary district regulations, Division 6, alcoholic beverages of the city's land development regulations, providing for Johns Pass Village Activity Center zoning district regulations, providing for planned development zoning district regulations, removing references to C2, Johns Pass Marine Commercial, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2025-11. I would note that there was a change as requested at the workshop relative to the PD zoning district provision.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners?
No comment.
Can you explain this a little bit more?
The change is on page 395. The change was to allow for the Board of Commissioners to negotiate on the type of alcohol use and restrictions at the PD zoning adoption. That was the language that was discussed at the workshop, and the planning commission voted to support it. And we have added it to the ordinance as we've brought it in front of you for first reading.
And if it's not addressed at the PD zoning section, then it just reverts back to the previous zoning district and the alcohol, what was allowed with the alcohol license.
Okay, thank you, makes sense. No comment.
Yeah. Commissioner, any comments?
So memorialize means this is going to mirror the zones that were there before?
Unless at the PD zoning
okay, yeah.
adoption hearing, you guys vote.
But outside of a PD, it would mirror it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No comment.
Do we have a motion?
I move we pass ordinance 2025-11, alcoholic beverages.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Commissioner Gabay,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-12. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-12, an ordinance of the City of Madera Beach, Florida, adopting a revised Appendix A Fees and Collection Procedures Manual of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Madera Beach, Florida, to provide for the modification of hourly rates and rooms available for rent within the Recreation Center and City Hall, and reword the reference to sales tax collected therefore, repealing ordinance 2025-08, providing for conflict codification of severability and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2025-12 by title only. Just some clarity here, just so you understand. You just adopted the ordinance where you had made changes to the Fees and Collection Procedures Manual for the sanitation fee. That is in existence as of today. That is not going to change with this ordinance. We're just making further changes. We wanted to get the sanitation fee taken care of. Otherwise, we could have made the changes to 2025-08 and delayed it until the next public hearing. I didn't think that that was what you wanted to do, so we're just taking it in pieces. So 2025-08 is in existence, the sanitation fee is in existence, but when you adopt this at second reading, it's going to change the hourly rates and rooms available for rent at the Recreation Center. So that's why you're seeing repealing 2025-08 in the title. Okay.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners?
Mr. Trask answered my question.
I recall we went over this one in the workshop, I believe.
Jay did.
Yeah, we did. And yeah, I think all the questions were asked and answered then. Good.
I thought it was great. Do we have a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2025-12, amendment to the Fees and Collection Procedure Manual.
Do we have a second?
I second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Commissioner Gabay.
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is unfinished business, Johns Pass North Jetty Mobility Mat.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Hi.
I bring this back before you for your approval to purchase the mobility mat that will run on the sand portion just north of the rocks where the previous sidewalk ran on the jetty. So I have in this packet two different mats. One is the existing Mobi mat, of which we have a total of 4 of now. We only have one out at 136th. And then there is a new brand that a local vendor reached out about, and it's called the Excess Rec, I believe is the name. I would like to mention that the mayor and I did take a trip to go to Treasure Island where they do have one of these mats, and just to kind of see it, touch it, feel it, get a feeling for its quality in comparison to what we currently have, and it's much different. It's more of a rubberized material. It doesn't appear that the sand truly goes through that mat. It is cheaper, but I do feel as though the quality of the Mobi mat would stand up longer than the rubberized other access rec mat. So my personal recommendation would be that we would stick with the material and what we already have, what we know, what we've had the one mat for over a couple years now, and knock on wood, haven't had any issues with it. So I am here for any questions.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners' comments?
I have one question, Megan. So would you think that the wave action / all that wave spilling over the rocks would adversely affect the integrity of this Moby mat?
The waves would not touch this mat unless we had a significant storm. And if we had a significant storm coming, we remove the mats. They're very easily removable. So if you're referring to maybe just like the splash whenever they hit the, I don't think that would affect the mat whatsoever. But as far as the tide coming up, it would not touch
No,
the mat.
not tide related, but just strong currents.
Heavy surf.
Yes.
There would be some water splashing, as Wepper stated. We don't believe that will significantly impact.
No, because if you're standing on the sand currently where the mat would go, you might get a splash every once in a while, but that's only if we have really significant wind coming or heavy.
And this would be for what duration until the concrete sidewalk's been poured, right?
Correct, until we are able to put the permanent structure back.
Okay, and do you have any idea when that might be?
I do not.
No plans for it yet?
We're working on
No, we're-
permitting and plans. So we're working on the plans to then submit for the permitting.
And we will bring that back to you and keep you updated every month on the status of this,
Yes.
Thank you,
as we stated before.
thank you.
So are you recommending the Moby mat instead of the access rec mat?
I am.
You are,
Yes.
right? Simply because the Moby mat's going to last longer, it's going to, the duration of that is going to last longer. Even though the other one is cheaper, but sometimes you get what you pay for.
Yes, I have not purchased the access rec mat. I can just speak from what we've had and just from what I felt. It's much different, much different. And I'm not saying that the other mat might not hold up. But just from seeing the two different mats and seeing how I think it would be more of a maintenance issue as well with it not, with the mobility, the Moby mat that we currently have, the sand goes through it. So every once in a while you have to pull it up and you have to grade it back out. That happens maybe a couple times a year unless we have significant wind. With the access rec mat, it didn't appear that it would go through the mat. It appears that it's just gonna sit on top. And it was doing that whenever we looked at it. So I just think maintenance and again, just the texture of it, much different.
Good job. Thank you for doing all the information for us.
No problem.
Comments?
I refer my time to the mayor. What was your
Well,
opinion?
I just,
We went, yes,
I know you like to go last, so
well, I do. Because sometimes I
Just-
don't have to say anything.
just to confirm, you like it because it's pervious rather than impervious, the mobility mat, right? So if it did have some water, it would go through it.
Yes.
It wouldn't damage it. And as you mentioned before, we could roll it up and move it someplace else if we like. Okay, thank you. Mayor?
So they're made completely different.
Yeah.
When we went down and looked at the one at Treasure Island, it's kind of, in my opinion, the way I would describe it is a tight knit, weaved rubber plastic, right? When you go look at ours, it's like metal mesh and plastic
Mhm.
stuff. But and if you reach down and touch it, you can just feel the difference in how they feel. And the one that she's been purchasing for us, it clearly seems like it would hold up longer. You can definitely see how the sand goes through it. And that's what you want because you don't want the sand to sit on top of it. You want it to kind of mesh through. I thought there was no comparison in quality when you reached down and felt them. And walking on it feels to me like if you were pushing a stroller or had a prosthetic leg, which is, we do have residents who use those Moby mats for that reason. The mat that we have seems much safer and more sturdy to walk on or to roll on. I would recommend spending the extra little bit of money and getting the one we currently have.
It's also a half of a foot wider.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
access rec map is only 6 feet wide. The Moby mats are 6.5. I'd also like to put on the record that I did reach out to the Hug and the Forward Foundation, but I have not received a response yet. I will follow up on that.
And Megan, the proposed one, we can utilize at another location if we needed to.
Correct. They are very easy to move. They have stakes that you just put, they have little, I can't even think, ringlets. I don't believe that's the right word. My brain's not working. But you just put stakes in them. And then whenever you're ready to move it or maintenance, you just pull those up and you can roll it up super easy. The guys can put it down in 5 seconds and roll it back up in less than. So I even talked to them about it and they were for the one we
So
currently have.
should we have an issue, and there could be, just thinking out loud, if users do not, for some reason, express concerns, we could come back to you and state, we've received these concerns and we're considering and moving it. But hopefully that won't happen, but in case, that's why I wanted to mention, if we needed to move it, we can move it, utilize it somewhere else. It's not going to be wasted or not utilized.
Yes, and it's 120 feet long. That will fit at almost every access point except for Tom and Kitty Stewart Park. It's a little too long for there, but we won't have that open for a little bit.
Any additional comments?
The Moby mat's wider and longer?
Mm-hmm.
They're both the same length, but the Moby mat is a half a foot wider.
Oh, when you said 120, you're talking about the additional 20-foot mat that goes with it?
Yes, so they're both are 120 feet long, but they only come in 100-foot sections, which is why you see that additional 20-foot. But just the difference between the two is the half a foot wider and the material much different.
Do they come in 20-foot increments, or they cut, maximum 100 and you cut the size, anything less than that? Is that the way it works?
The longest run you can get is 100 feet. So if you wanted to add to that, they have a kind of where you like slide in, I don't know how to explain it. You can just easily slide it in and then they rivet it in. So you can add to it, current mats that we have now, we could add to those if we wanted to.
So when it's installed, it's going to look
It will
like
have
one mat, 120 foot long?
You'll see one little piece on there, but you won't know the difference.
Right. The reason I ask is, and it really has to do with where they would be used elsewhere, would it make more sense to buy two 60-foot mats and sew them together the same way you do 100 and a 20? If you had two other entryways that you just wanted 60-foot, or, I don't know. I just put that out there. If you're going to be buying 120 foot of mat, is that the way you want it broken up? I'm ready to approve it with the Moby mat. Just want to put that out there before the purchase is made.
Yes, 60 feet is not that long, but there are certain locations where it works perfect. And at those locations, we already have the mats. So if this one were to move, and when it does move, whenever we get the sidewalk approved, we would then move it to 134th or 133rd or even 137th, where those have a very long walk to the beach.
Or do you need, I don't know if they're at Archibald or wherever, where you have a long mat, do you need any of those to be an additional 60 foot, I'll just say?
We can't go any longer really than what we have there because it already goes out. I don't remember the length on those, but those were permitted at what the length was.
Okay, I leave that to your judgment. Just wanted to bring it up for the thought process. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the purchase of the Moby mat.
Second?
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabai,
No.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 4-1.
Next on the agenda is contracts and agreements, DSK Law Engagement Letter to serve as special magistrate for the city of Madeira Beach.
I'll handle that. So every year, we have to reappoint our current special magistrate and fix his hourly rate. This DSK law, we have special magistrate, Bart Valdez. He's been our special magistrate for a number of years. He does a really good job. He is proposing to continue on at $210 per hour plus costs, and $65 an hour for his paralegal that works on any of the work that he's doing. In other words, for like drafting the orders and so forth. This is a very reasonable rate. We see this rate as high as $300 an hour. And so I think that this is a really good deal for the city of Madeira Beach. I would recommend approval of this for another year.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners? Questions, comments?
I've watched him many times. He does a great job.
No comment.
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to approve the DSK law engagement contract, letter, however you want to state it, to serve as special magistrate.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabai.
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is approve the CAP Government Agreement Building Services. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Commission, as we discussed at the workshop, this is an agreement for our building department services in the interim until we fill the position of a building official permanently, and a deputy building official that we're looking to fill as well. We will have a vacancy in our, we currently have a vacancy in our building code compliance. We will be having a second vacancy. So this firm, CAP Government, upon reviewing 3 different firms, have been the most responsive. They've been very, very good in providing a building official, performing inspections, and as we need building code compliance reviews, they provide those services as well, and any other building services. Again, this is in the interim. We're hoping the interim means within a matter of just a couple of months, but this continues our permitting and other required building work, including inspections. As was referenced earlier, we will make sure we are able to complete inspections, and we'll review that tomorrow, as a matter of fact, based on the comment this evening from the resident. But that's the agreement before you. They have been, again, very, very responsive. We received positive comments. The rates are listed on there, which are comparable to what the other firms that we reviewed. We are using an existing agreement with the city of Dania Beach. Be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners?
Mr. Gomez, this is the company that we discussed at the workshop,
Yes,
right? That
correct.
who's
No
been
change.
received very well so far by
Yes.
city employees and
Yes.
residents. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't have much of a choice, I don't think, right now.
Yes.
We need to continue with having inspectors out there, so we need to do that. I guess we're soliciting to fill that position in more than one way, or, I mean, how?
Yes, we're actively out searching, advertising. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, we will hopefully have an inspector begin toward the end of this month. We did send out a letter. The applicant did agree in verbally that he would accept, but we need to follow through the process. We did submit a letter, and we're hoping to have a positive reply and actually have an inspector. And I apologize, I don't have all of the details, but I believe the inspector would be able to perform, Jenny, residential, commercial. I do not participate in every hiring in the city, contrary to, I think, what's been communicated out there, but clearly departments hire
Yes, I
their
believe
staff.
there was 2 licenses that he still needs to inspect everything. But he'll be working under the current building official, which is Kathy with CAP. Also, planning and building are very happy with Kathy here. She's been excellent, and I've received multiple positive feedbacks from residents, developers, contractors.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Comments?
She is very professional.
Very.
Okay.
So just to clarify, the person that is going to be coming on is not a building official.
Correct.
He's only a building inspector.
Inspector.
So he would be like the junior building official we were hiring. I know that's not the right word. I can't remember
He
what
would
it.
like to become a building official, but you do need to have a lot of qualifications, licenses, X amount of years before you can even take those exams. So he's working up to get all those accreditations, which would be at a minimum 3 years. So we would still need to have a building official.
Deputy building official, I think is
Yeah,
the.
that's the
That's
term.
the,
So
sorry.
he
would be-
couldn't be qualified as the deputy building
okay.
official, but he would be
An
an
inspector.
inspector. And that's what he's doing currently. in
Okay,
that Position.
thank you.
Okay, my only point is,
Yeah.
it's not fiscally responsible to outsource this forever.
No.
So
Correct, correct.
we need to, get someone in. And
Yes.
Yes, and so that building official role is still open and is being advertised right now. So the goal is to just have this in the interim until we can get a building official.
So currently, we have a inspector. There's someone else that's working with Kathy?
Yes, and that's through CAP.
Okay, so once we hired this individual on, then he would be able to do inspections.
Yes,
So we might not need that secondary person we're paying through the,
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, so that would
one, we would
alleviate
have-
some of
we would
that.
have one of the roles filled.
Yes,
with a
and then
full-time.
we would still be looking for that building official.
We'd be able to complete, complete more inspections.
Right. Which is great.
Right, which is, will be, currently we're at beginning that part where now we're getting a lot of inspections, and I think the inspectors have been doing about 30 inspections a day.
Yes, that's what they're trying to ramp up to is 30. They're trying to see how many they could get through. So 30 looks like that's the maximum and kind of what they're getting
Yeah.
right now.
So if we have 2 or the ability to do more, then we can do anywhere from 40, 50 up to 60 inspections in a day.
So whatever happened to, and I don't know, maybe this would be better for the workshop, but whatever happened to the inspectors from the state? Did that all fizzle out? Did they not give us any? Did they?
I don't know.
Okay,
We can bring that at the
Yeah.
workshop, but I don't think we ever received actual inspectors. That request, I believe, is
we
still
requested
pending.
it though.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
I
it's
don't
still pending.
I don't think
But
that
we'll-
we did, but
we'll
I
review.
wasn't here the whole
Yeah,
time. So
I don't think there was a great desire to get them, honestly, in my opinion.
mhm.
Not on you, Robin,
No,
but I don't mean that I don't want you to take that, but there wasn't a great desire to get them. So it'd probably warrant to follow up and see if that request is
Yeah,
still
we
out
did,
there.
and we did receive a request as to whether we still have that request
Yeah,
pending.
yeah.
And Marcy did reply, yes,
That we have it.
we can use that service.
Because based on the comment we heard tonight, if that's
Right.
factual, we need
Oh,
more
correct, and that's why I
help
said that
than what
with,
we have.
right,
So,
hiring
yeah.
the full-time would be able to more inspections, but also we'll chat with CAP
Yeah.
to see if we can have an additional interim person to complete
Can we
more
charge
inspections.
FEMA for them? I'll
Yes, yeah, no, I'm
okay,
sorry, yes,
yeah.
these will be submitted I mean, in our conversations with FEMA, they stated, yeah, whatever invoices, whatever services you hire, that is on our schedule as services that we need. Our schedule, meaning we provided FEMA schedules of all the work and services that will be reimbursed, and this is one of them.
My thought, I mean, my thought is and we all knew this would happen, we talked about it, that as people started getting into doing their repairs and started ramping up, that our building official would really get buried in the need to do inspections. And of course, we can all agree that you can only do so many a day. I mean, there's a human capacity of what you can physically go out and do. So if the state is if the state is still looking to help us and provide inspectors that are licensed, maybe they're not, but if they are, my thought would be the benefit to taking advantage of that is that we don't have to write the check to pay them and get reimbursed. That goes through the state. And I'm saying that, and I don't know that that is, I saw some of the help that we got, and some of it was good, and some of it wasn't. So if it's good help, I think it would be wonderful to pursue it. If it's not, then don't mess our city up by bad inspections.
Right.
You know, so, okay. Are you good?
I am, I just was thinking the help that we got, the definition of inspector, two different types of inspector. One was the damage assessment
Correct.
inspector versus new building inspection, which is completely different.
Yes.
Right.
Very true.
We've never gotten that, but
Right.
we requested it at one point. So,
Great, yes.
Yeah.
Great.
do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the CAP government agreement for building services.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini?
Yes.
Commissioner Gabelli?
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr?
Yes.
Mayor Brooks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is approval for purchase of rear load containers.
Again, Mayor and Commissioner, we discussed this at the workshop, and Ms. Wepper, would you like to add?
Good evening again. As Mr. Gomez stated, we did discuss this at the workshop. This is based upon the next agenda item. Sorry, they got a little shuffled. But this is based upon the invitation to bid that we sent out, number 25-02. And the quote has those prices for the proposal that is attached to this. So this is, as we stated, we have over 200 dumpsters for commercial and multifamily in Madeira Beach, and due to Hurricane Helene, she destroyed those. So I am here for any questions you may have.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, questions?
I have a question. So the cost, I guess we've gotten competitive bids, or is this like a?
Yes, we sent out an invitation to bid for a public bid,
Yes.
and based upon that bid, Iron Containers was the most responsible vendor. So as I stated, we should have had the contract approval for the invitation to bid first, but this item was first. So and the next agenda item is to approve that contract.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I think it's a great idea, especially since FEMA is going to reimburse.
We will absolutely submit all of this to FEMA.
Great job.
Thank you.
Comments?
Yeah, and we don't have much choice.
So do we have a
Hopefully,
motion? Oh, sorry.
Hopefully FEMA's gonna reimburse.
Right? Well, we're expecting FEMA to give us a lot of money.
Yes, we are.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the purchase of rear loader dumpsters from Iron Container for $36,145.
Do we have a second?
A second?
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini?
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gabelli?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr?
Yes.
Mayor Brooks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ITB 25-02, purchase rear load replacement containers contract approval.
So this item that I have before you is for a 3-year contract. Iron Container is our current vendor, and that is who we would love to stick with to have interchangeable parts. In your packet, you have the bid tabulation, which shows that Iron Container was the only vendor that put a price for all the containers that we requested. The reason why you see the 6-yard rear load container on there is in the event we are able to accommodate that. We had one in the past that we used for events, but unfortunately it rusted out on us. So with the option to possibly have one of those.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, comments?
No comment.
No comment.
Comments?
Comments?
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the invitation to bid 25-02 purchase rear load replacement containers contract from Iron Container.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabay,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is the Archibald parking lot and 142nd Beach access repair approval.
What I have before you, we have not discussed yet, and I apologize for that, but we received the quote after we were able to put it on the workshop, but we would like to put this before you so that we can get these repairs completed. This would be a approval to piggyback off the contract, and Attorney Trask may want to chime in. I'm not sure.
So there is a contract, I guess it was with the city of Largo. It was a neighborhood roadway and infrastructure improvement bid. It was accepted by Largo. It's under contract for Largo. The city of Madeira Beach is going to piggyback off of that agreement. I did prepare a piggyback agreement yesterday to provide it. Has that been circulated?
It was given to the clerk's office.
I didn't get it, but I think Laura did, and
Laura
she
did.
provided it.
Okay, well, there's a piggyback agreement. It basically says that you're purchasing the same materials under the same values as the City of Largo agreement. This is something that needs to be accomplished fairly quickly because the City of Largo contract expires on April 25th. So we need to make sure our project is completed by April 25th to make sure that we have the same dollar amounts per items that are being provided. And so I've been reassured by Megan that this project will be done by April 25th. And so we're good to go. We just need your approval of the piggyback agreement then based upon the City of Largo's invitation to bid and Largo's contract with the company by the name of Keystone Excavators, Inc.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, questions?
This may be a silly question. The fiscal impact for the repair of Archibald Park and 142nd Beach access is $494,680. The staff has 500 budgeted for in FY '25. Is this in addition to the 500 budgeted, or is that part of that?
So we had originally budgeted $500,000 to mill and resurface the Archibald lot after the completion of the restroom. We know that construction tends to tear up a parking lot or areas around it. The Archibald lot has not been milled and resurfaced in several years, and it was due. So I had originally planned to mill and resurface, which is why it was budgeted. So the budget, the proposal amount comes in under the original budgeted amount, and it just sped
And
up
it
the
has nothing to
process.
do with the restroom structure. That was just your marker for winning. I got it. Thank you. That answered my question.
And we're going to submit this to FEMA as well because it was torn up because of the storm.
Correct, yes, we will.
Wonderful. One more question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We get this resurfaced, we get a storm next year. Is there any other option than putting all that sand and on that lot and tearing it up again? Have we considered any other
I'm
options?
I'm sorry, I didn't, one more
Get
time?
a lot of sand on Golf Boulevard and we pick it up and we put it on the parking lot, brand new resurfaced part. Are there any other options? That's,
Well,
may not be. I'm just asking.
We
the
didn't,
So the city
Well,
didn't do that.
right.
But unfortunately, I think what you're asking is if the scraping of the material led to damage. Well, that's unfortunately what happened with our Gulf Lane and with all of the beach access parking lots as well, in which we are receiving quotes to mill and resurface those. You can't really stop it from happening if you have several inches of sand.
Yeah, you have to put it
And
somewhere.
whoever
I'm
the
just-
operator. But a lot of that damage wasn't just because of the sand being placed in the parking lot, but because of the cleanup, the sand from what Helene brought into the parking lot. So some of it was damaged due to having it as a staging area. But a lot of it was also done due
just
to
to clean
Mother
up whether we
Nature.
would have put it there anyway. You still have heavy equipment that's gonna have to come in and scrape it, which is gonna
Correct, yes.
damage it regardless if we
Yes.
use it as a staging area anyway. Okay, that answers my question.
If you're asking if we could find another location for a staging
Well,
area, we
I was just-
probably could.
But
Trying to
that was-
find another old parking lot somewhere.
But that was, I guess, maybe you can clarify, that was we placed some sand on the north side of Archibald?
FDOT
Right, so
placed
just to be
sand.
clear, we didn't put the sand there.
Correct. It was off of Gulf Boulevard.
Yeah, so as the DOT contractor, because Gulf Boulevard's a state road, the small army came in, started removing the sand. I don't recall, some of it may have been placed on the north side, but most of it was trucked away. The sand that was on there was the result of the storm.
Yeah.
From the sand, the beach, pushing and landing on the parking lot, or
But there
No,
was
the
mounds
south
and
side.
mounds of sand.
The south side of the parking lot. there
that,
was-
yeah, no, I'm
it
just
was
talking
used
about the
for-
north side, and then I'll get to the south side was a whole different issue. The north side was what landed there on top of all the debris,
Okay.
and then that was removed. The south side was used as a staging area for the VACCON trucks vacuuming out the storm drains along Gulf Boulevard, I think beyond even Madeira Beach, and that happened all the way until December. And then finally, that pit, sand and all I will tell you that what they used it for likely led to a lot more damage than just removing it just once. But as trucks were pulling in, dumping, you had a front loader moving and fixing the pit, as I think many of us saw. So that lead to more damage? Likely, yes. I would say definitely. Can that be changed in the future? We can certainly ask DOT to use another area. But I just wanted to clarify, because I don't believe we were the ones that did all of that.
Well, we're gonna have a brand new parking lot. That was my only point. So if we,
We-
in the near future, next year or the year after, if we need a staging area, do we select the one? Is there any other option? That was just, it has nothing to do with approving this or not approving this. This is for the entire parking lot, north and south, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, this is all for all of the asphalt, the concrete, because much of the curb is demolished.
Yeah.
And also includes 142nd, which is in between Shoreline and, I can't think of the other hotel, Trillium possibly. There is a 20-foot wide, and it was just a solid concrete walkway. What I am going to do is take that down to 15 feet wide and put a planter in there and add some greenery to just spruce it up a little bit over there. So take down the concrete, but
Okay.
yes.
Great, thank you. No more comments.
No more comments.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Do you have any comments? I'm sorry.
I'm
Commissioner.
just thinking, because, we're piggybacking on Largo's contract, but it might be apples and oranges as far as type of construction. Not everything that Largo is paying for applies to what we're doing here. So if there are some other items that we are adding that the city of Largo doesn't have a contract on, how would you address that?
It's all included in on the proposal. So majority of what Largo did was in a neighborhood. It was asphalt and concrete repair
Yeah.
and then striping, which is majority of what the work is. So if you're asking if we find any unknowns, how
Well, I
will
mean, I
we
don't have a
address-
site plan to look to see, you know, that I'm not looking at a site plan that Largo did and we're doing. So we're just leaving it up to your judgment to basically figure out if that really, I mean, we certainly trust your judgment, no doubt, but there's just no comparison as far as what they are doing and what we're doing and what the difference is in construction and the cost.
When you piggyback off of a line item contract,
Yeah.
the line items, asphalt, concrete,
Understood.
curb work,
Are the same.
it all fits
Understood.
into the same. So if there's items that aren't in there, then they would then either go separately and be bid out because it's not in that contract.
Mm.
But I've already walked the site with the contractor,
Okay.
and that's why we feel as though the scope fits in with the same scope and the same line items in the Largo contract.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the piggyback contract from the city of Largo with Keystone Excavators, Inc. for $494,680.
Do we have a second? City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabay.
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is RFP 25-03, Madeira Beach Recreation Center Interior Hurricane Repairs.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So this is just bringing back what we discussed at the workshop about the RFP. The Groves Construction Company ended up being our most responsible bidder in the process. So we were looking for approval of the awarding of the bid. And then I do have, was brought to my attention, I've got the A1A contract that is in there is a draft, so it will need to be brought back for signature and updated correctly, but.
My suggestion is just approve it with, because the scope isn't going to change, the dollar amount is not going to change, just to go ahead and approve it with the understanding that the city attorney and the city manager and Mr. Hatch will fill in the couple of blanks that there are in it, that instead of it coming back. We don't want to delay it.
Do we
Certain
have,
boxes need to be checked, certain things need to say not applicable, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
do we have any public comment? Commissioners, questions, comments?
Pretty well addressed it at the workshop.
Yeah. Comments? Good. I'm good. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the RFP 25-03 Madeira Beach Recreation Center Interior Hurricane Repairs
Contract.
contract.
A second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabay.
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is city-sponsored fireworks.
Good evening again. So this is bringing back the fireworks discussion that we had at the last workshop. There is a minor change if you go from the contractor duties, number 2 in the contract, and number 4 payment. The dates are all a day off. The contract that I provided to the clerk's office has the updated dates, as the correct dates for, number 2 in the contract has the correct dates, number 4 has the dates from last year, so I changed it one place and not the other, so.
Oh,
But the dates have been corrected with the contract that is signed in their possession. So
do we have any public comment? Commissioners? Questions, comments?
I don't.
Are we, we're using Spieler for the barge, right?
that is the plan. I've got a verbal commitment with him for July 3rd. So we've got to just need to put together an agreement so we have it, but that's
So-
the present
So
plan.
the city will be billed for the services. It's
Yes.
not a free
Correct.
donated.
Well, the final price has to be negotiated. In previous years, he's said, I will charge you what it costs me. So he's trying to provide it with the opportunity that we're able to use it, because when we bid it out and we've bid it out before, most of the time it's been unavailable. So the only available barge that we've had in the last 5 years was his. So we ensure that there is a fair market value being used for the barge.
The question is, there won't be any favoritism though to, let's say, Spieler for constructing seawalls just because.
No, this
it's
is a completely separate thing. I think the barge in itself, the availability of a barge is extremely rare and an incredible opportunity for the city. So we're make sure that, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there's a history of us bidding it out and looking for quotes and communicating with other barge companies. One of the only responsive bids outside of discussions with him was a $60,000 cost for a barge that was located in Tampa Bay. So with the construction of the bridge and all this other stuff, it's a whole nother, we could talk about this for an hour,
But Commissioner, if you have a concern, which sounds like you might or may be inferring of a concern, we can certainly bid it out, issue a request for proposals.
Well, of course, that could be an option, but I'm trying to address some of the concerns of the local citizens that have been.
We
brought
will
up.
issue a bid if there are concerns, because this is very important. It's a serious matter if that's a concern, and to all of you, if that's a concern, then we should bid it out. That's my recommendation. But, I mean, up to all of you.
Just to understand, you're talking about the barge, not the fireworks. Isn't that two separate things?
It would be a separate item.
So we
yes.
can approve this recommendation and then, change course if needed for the barge. Am I understanding that right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
yes.
So the barge is a
Just a
separate
separate
issue that
issue.
we can address.
Great. Comments? I don't have any comments. I accept that we're not going to have 4th of July and that now it's our tradition.
Less and less pushback each year.
Yeah, whatever, I mean, he's not going to change it, so it doesn't matter.
If you-
I'm only kidding, Jay. I'm only
Just
kidding.
kidding.
All your fault.
I'm only kidding.
I like the idea, and I want to emphasize on that because I've also heard from the neighborhood that they're saying 3rd of July, not 4th of July. In my personal opinion, we can enjoy 3rd of July here and 4th of
Somewhere
July in
else.
some of the other
That's
cities.
right. That's
So what's
right.
wrong
That's
with
absolutely
enjoying
right.
the
Absolutely
fireworks
right.
twice?
Absolutely right.
Great.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we move forward with a final one-year contract renewal.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr?
Yes.
Commissioner Gabaggy?
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan?
Yes.
Mayor Brooks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is facility use agreement.
All right, so this is a facility use agreement we're looking to enter into with Burton Meering LLC that would assist with the renting of the Recreation City Hall, this room facilities for various uses. They've reviewed the contract that we presented. We do have a signed contract with the clerk's office for the evening, and they're good to go with it. We're excited about the opportunity with this, and look to get more use out of the facilities. And it's approaching graduation time, so it's going to be very busy around here with plenty of uses in the throughout. So, if you have any questions, I can address them. But
Do we have any public comment? Commission, any questions?
Sounds like a win-win. We're gonna get a lot of usage and they're gonna get a great rate and it's a win for the city.
I agree.
Great job.
Great job, Jay. So do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve facility use agreement.
Do we have a second?
Second?
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gabai,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
We have nothing under new business, so the next item is agenda setting for our March 26th BOC regular workshop and budget workshop.
Mayor, I know it's going to be a long day because of the budget meeting, but I would like to add, please, if we could just get a regular update on what's going on with the pocket parks. I just don't want that to slide off our plate, even if it's, say, it's in the same place it was, just 2 seconds. I
Okay.
just don't want it to slip off our plate. Because there's other things that are pressing, I get it, but I don't want to lose track of our goals of this.
Two things, I'd like to talk about the library extension. And whether it's at this budget workshop or the next, I'd like to set some time about a vision for the marina and actually ask Krabby to be present and talk about the marina and decide what the board's vision is on that property.
Robin, have we reached out? We talked about reaching out to see whether or not the regulations on our lease there and the property and how it was all gotten, whether or not the state would allow us to make any changes. Have we
No,
done that?
we will do that. I have that as a to-do item.
Okay.
To reach out to the state.
Because I think before you can really start talking the vision, we need to know, you know what I'm talking about? Remember back when we
Yeah, we
found
talked
out?
about getting a letter out
Yeah,
to see what we can do
to
or
see
can't
what we
do.
can or can't do,
Yeah.
right? So I think until we know whether or not they'll let us,
I just don't want it to keep
I agree.
getting pushed
I-
down the road.
I 100% agree.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I don't see a place for me to make a comment before we get to the next section. So if I may, I'd like to say, address Mr. Chuck Dillon's comments. Is it true that building
So
fees
if,
aren't free? Or
so
building permits aren't free?
Commissioner, if you wait, it's not on our agenda, but one of the things that I've done since I sat in this seat is at the end of the meeting before we adjourn, talk about anything a resident
Oh.
brought up, and then we can
Gotcha.
talk and have
That's-
conversation,
you.
and if that's okay.
That's fine, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, Mayor and Commissioner, if I may, the items that are listed for the next regular workshop on the 26th of March, the BOC Policy Handbook will provide you a financial update for the current fiscal year and the storm damage insurance updates. More updates on our City Hall ground floor repair, where we are, the new construction at the City Hall ground floor, our texting service that we actually started today, requesting people to sign up. Our post-hurricane update that we provided every workshop, updates on the Honor Court, the Johns Pass dredging, and a discussion on entering into and piggybacking off an existing agreement for grant services through GrantWorks, the company that I'd mentioned, Shoemaker had provided some information. And we are also going to have Captain Melvin Jackson with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office attend and give an introduction and an overview. He's the captain now overseeing our law enforcement services agreement. And any other items that you would like to add? We have the beaches library, the street and pocket parks, and if we have the update with the marina.
Then, excuse me, the snack shack as.
I'm sorry, yes, and we'll have the Snack Shack agreement discussion. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Would you also add Kitty and Tom Stewart Park?
Well, that's part, I guess, we're separating out the Snack Shack because of the agreement, but the Tom and Kitty Stewart, we do in the storm damage, but we can separate it out as well.
And also, there's a Pinellas County Parks, and, of course, I know it's their park, not ours. But, again, this is a concern of citizens. When do we think that they might start repairing that?
I will bring you an update at the March, I believe I did include a brief overview in my email that I submit to all of you, just updates on it, but they're looking to fast track the project. They didn't provide a specific time frame, but their original time frame is the park would not reopen until sometime in 2026.
Oh, my God.
Several months for design, the park was completely destroyed. Months for redesign, a couple of months for procurement, bidding, purchasing, and then the actual construction, estimated at 9 to 12 months for all of that. But recently, the communication was they were looking to fast track it, but didn't provide any dates, but I will inquire and then bring that back at the workshop. They did completely fence the
Yes.
park last week or the week before, so it is now inaccessible, or people can no longer walk through it because of the dangers. They did remove the 4 rather large piles of sand probably about a month ago, and then we had, and I forget, but a Pinellas County Sheriff's Office program that came out and did some cleaning, removed some debris, and painted some graffiti that was on something that ended up in the park that's not part of the park that they haven't removed. I also inquired about on the outside of the temporary fencing that they've erected, the original fencing on the right-of-way, whether that's the county's responsibility or DOT's, and I did not receive a response, but I will follow up again because there is still some sizable debris in that area. It's not on the sidewalk, so it's not impeding anyone's ability to walk on the sidewalk in front of the park, but when you look in some of the bushes and the overgrowth, there's still some considerable debris that's been there, and it just hasn't been removed. So I will follow up again with the county, but it is a county park. It is called the Madeira Beach Public Access, but a Pinellas County park, meaning they're responsible, they're the owners, and they do the maintenance and all the repairs to it.
Just one more item, if I may. Tom Stewart, as you drive in, and you know it's access to our city. I know it's a DOT road, but it really looks pretty rocky, doesn't look good. It needs repair and possibly resurfacing. Could we contact DOT and see if we can set up a schedule with them to repair the road?
What has been communicated is they've reviewed all of their roads post-storm, and they were devising a sort of what was triaging their roads and streets to make the immediate repairs, the short-term and then long-term. But I will follow up because we never received anything beyond that was the scope of what they were doing along with the county. Even though I don't think we have any county roads on the island, but I believe Dumay Road is a county road. I don't know, Megan can clarify, but DOT has looked at all of their roads, and I don't know if they've provided any other updates.
DOT has not provided any updates about the milling and resurfacing, but what I can tell you is all the potholes that you're seeing along 150th
Yes.
and even Gulf Boulevard, those are county utilities that are not doing well. So the one that is closest to the marina, that is a sanitary line that is failing. The county is aware. We originally thought that it was the FDOT storm drain. When they started doing a little bit more digging, they found there's a sanitary main. And if you follow that line, it follows you to several others that are along 150th.
So the county needs to repair their utilities, and then DOT needs to repair the road.
Correct.
Or both.
Yes, it will be both.
So we will follow up with them for sure.
Next item on the agenda is reports and correspondence. The Board of Commissioner 2025 BOC meeting schedule. City Clerk.
Were there any changes to the calendar?
Yeah.
There were.
The ones I requested are changed.
Yes. Okay.
When
And
we-
then for the city clerk's one, I didn't have time to do the report, but the next time I will. I had class, two-day class 1 week, and then last week, 3-day class. But for the next one though, I've been asked to give a list of the city managers from the beginning of time to now. Have that on there. And the ones for the city clerk. And I'll have the history of municipal clerks and what their duties were over time from the cowboy days to now. And also the city attorney has been assisting me with, and I really appreciate it, what the duties and responsibilities of the city clerk today. And so I'll have all that in there for the next time, so.
Great job.
Great.
Thank you.
Sorry, excuse me, Mayor and Commission, just to go back to the calendar, no other changes going forward, just so that.
I just had a quick comment that, so for September on any year, pretty much, that is the time that we should definitely make sure that if we're taking vacation, don't take it during September. You need 5 commissioners here. Just as a general comment, to get the rates, get the budget all
Budget,
approved.
right.
It needs 5 votes.
Mine's in June.
Yeah,
So is that an accurate statement?
yeah, yes, yeah, we have the meetings on the 10th and the 24th of September
Correct.
to adopt,
But we're,
adopt the millage rate, the budget,
but if we're gonna miss a meeting, October would be a better month.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we do, just to remind we have multiple budget workshops as well.
Correct.
So those are, I mean, every meeting's important, but
Every meeting's important, but as we get a little older, we have to set time to get away.
Well, and
And-
this month starts our
Budget.
budget
Right,
talks.
so I'm just
yeah,
saying that the
it's- yeah.
best time fiscally, or not, that's a wrong term, for the board,
October.
October. Okay,
Well, if we're all gone in October, then what are we gonna do?
then we're gonna have trouble.
June.
June?
Okay, thank
Next-
you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Next, thank you, Robin. Next is city attorney.
As you know, we've been working on the settlement of the fire station litigation. We were hoping to get it on the agenda for today's approval, the settlement agreement. It didn't work out that way. There were a lot of different parties involved, a lot of lawyers participating in comments on the settlement agreement language. And we have not been successful in, well, the city's attorneys, Mr. Henson and Mr. Wright, haven't been successful in getting that accomplished, although they're trying hard. But we do and are hoping to have it to you for the April 2nd meeting. We received some more information on it yesterday or the day before, so we're trying to work through that, that review and that language. But I did want to just let you know that, because I think that we had a discussion about the fact that it would be on this agenda. That's the reason why it wasn't. We still haven't worked out all the language, although we're working on it daily. So hope to have it to you about a week in advance of the April 2nd meeting. Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. And city clerk, I think you already did your report. City manager?
Thank you, Mayor, and again, congratulations, Madam Mayor, for 3 years. Commissioners McGee and Govey, congratulations. Myself and the staff obviously are extremely excited that we have 5 spectacular commissioners that we will continue for many years down the road, but we know for certain for at least another year. And so that's very, very good on our part, so thank you and congratulations. We do have an awful lot of events coming up, so from the 4-day Rotary Carnival that begins tomorrow through Sunday, followed by, we have Kite Day on Wednesday, March the 19th, and then the Great American Grunt Hunt on the 20th, and then the 22nd of March, and then to conclude the month, we have the Seafood Festival from the 27th to the 30th, so we hope all of you can attend and stop by at some of our events, as well as the rest of our residents and visitors and public, and looking forward to a lot more events as we progress through the year. And again, a reminder, on the 26th at 4 p.m., we will have the first budget workshop, an opportunity for all of you to kind of provide your input, your comments, and we'll continue that as we go forward. But we'll have updates as to where we are and what, if we receive anything from the tax collector and the property appraiser regarding refunds, we know that the applications concluded on Monday, March 3rd, and we do have obviously considerable numbers that did apply. We started noticing that on the property appraiser site, I didn't notice if there were any actual reports available, but if you do go to individual parcels, if you click tax bill, if they applied for a refund, there is a word that says refund on there. So inferring that likely that parcel did apply and likely would be subject. So, but we'll have more data, and if whatever we have prior to the workshop, we will share as soon as we receive that. But other than that, thank you, and thank you to the staff for what they do every single day.
Thank you, Robin. So before we adjourn, I want to ask you something, Robin. We did talk about it, one of the very first meetings that I sat here about, actually the very first, about when a resident comes up, that at the end we talk about things. Can we add that as a line item on every meeting, whether it's a workshop or a meeting?
Sure.
And then residents or anybody watching the meeting would know that if we had discussion, it was at that point. I thought about that and thought it really should be there and not just, and then if it's not, maybe it'll be something like commission resident conversation or comment discussion or something, however you would wordsmith that. When Mr. Dillon stood up and said that building fees aren't free, they're just reduced, that's not at all what we voted on. So do you know what he's speaking about?
Our building fees still remain
At $0, right?
for all storm-related. If a property sells, as you brought
Correct.
up at the workshop, I will check, but I believe we are assessing permit fees, but I will check. I didn't get a chance to
Okay.
do,
I
but we
think,
will bring
yeah,
that
if we
back to
can
you.
find out.
Yeah, we'll find out, as well as the comment on the inspections and make
Yeah,
sure that we are
yeah.
completing inspections timely.
Thank you for asking that question, Mayor.
Listen, I wrote it down. When he said it, I'm like, there's no way we're charging
Right.
for anything storm-related. So my curiosity is it possibly somebody's getting a permit for something that is not storm-related
Storm-related, right.
and they don't understand? Because you have to check a box. It asks you, is what the permit you're pulling storm-related? And you have to say yes. And if you don't say yes, then they're going to charge you because they're going to think it's not storm-related. So.
And we have received some applications for non-storm related work.
Right.
So we have been assessing the 1% building permit fee on those applications.
And I had another thing that Chuck said, that we only have 2 days of inspections. Is that, and should it be increased to 3?
Well,
Is
that's
that
what,
something that you were saying about the CAP contract, that we could get
Correct.
an extra day at
Yes.
least? Okay,
Yeah,
so we
we'll
will
look
be
to-
addressing that.
we will look to add, if we need to, and which we'll review it, but if we need to add another inspector, then that's what we will request.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we have, from CAP, and then we have had an agreement with the other I think I don't remember the name of it.
Safe built.
I'm sorry, thank you. Safe Built for inspections. They explained that they had a 2-week period. They were not available. Fortunately, we had CAP available, but we can inquire since we've had an existing contract with them as well, just for the inspections part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could be referring to impact fees as well. They're not waived.
They are not.
Correct, they are
Well,
not.
no, they are not.
No, they're not.
They're not. So be curious, and I'm sure it would be a simple phone call and he would expand on.
I'll reach out to him.
Yeah, don't worry, so will I.
And for all of you, the part about adding, Mayor, what you said, resident citizen comments, at the next workshop, you will go over your policy handbook, and we will look to amend the format for the agenda and add that as perhaps the very last item
Okay.
at the bottom.
I just think it's a to me, it was an easy way to let residents be heard and for us to talk about it. So, anything? Yes. So with that, it is 9:13 and we are adjourned.